talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan van range. Commercial vehicles that go the distance for your business. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
A very good afternoon. It is 2 minutes past 1 with the sports headlines. I'm Amelia Beltrao. Arne Slot's confirmed that Alexander Isak is set for a couple of months on the sidelines with a broken leg. The Liverpool boss also described the challenge from Mickey van der Ven in Liverpool's win at Tottenham as reckless. Well, Simon Jordan reckons there's some poor decision-making going on at Spurs at the moment.
Especially at home, I think they're frustrated in the outcomes that they're getting and also the reaction from the fans. And you're seeing the players talk to the media and seeing Pedro Porro wagging his finger at fans, telling them how they will and won't behave and how they will and won't tolerate it, which was absolute nonsense.
Now, talkSPORT understands Antoine Semenyo's release clause has to be triggered in the first 10 days of the January transfer window. A number of big hitters, including City, United and Liverpool, are interested in triggering his release clause of between 60 and 65 million. Elsewhere, Newcastle are calling for clarification from the referees' body on the decision not to award them a penalty against Chelsea. Anthony Gordon went down after a challenge from Trevor Chalobah during their draw on Saturday. Well, Eddie Howe says he wouldn't encourage his players to defend like that.
It's a dangerous thing. I don't know if we can train them to... I wouldn't want to train them to deliver that kind of challenge in the box, because I think you're going to pose or give the referee a decision to make.
Now, England's director of cricket is investigating reports the team's mid-Ashes break in Noosa resembled a stag do with excessive drinking.
We made it pretty clear that that wasn't to be the case, that these lads weren't to be out all the time getting hammered, and so far from what I've seen, that wasn't the case, but that's unacceptable if it was.
Rob Key speaking to Sky there. Well, after the trip to the beach resort, England lost the third test and the Ashes in Adelaide. And just 2 days before Christmas, Oxford United have sacked manager Gary Rowett after their 1-0 defeat to Charlton at the weekend. They have just one win in 10 and sit third from the bottom in the Championship. There's more at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
The government have made a huge U-turn on inheritance tax for farmers, and a man's appeared in court charged with raping and drugging his wife over a 13-year period. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. For a limited time only, get 15% off a set of 4 selected premium tyres. Don't miss out and book today at quickfit.com and drive away happy every time. Conditions apply.
Showers will continue to affect parts of the far north, but largely dry and cloudy with brighter breaks developing in the west.
This is Paul Hawksbee and Tony Cascarino with you through until 4 here on talkSPORT, where this afternoon we'll look ahead to tonight's commentary game between Arsenal and Palace in the Carabao Cup. Cross to AFCON for a report on Mo Salah's telling contribution in his opening match. Talk transfers, including Marmoush to Spurs. And we'll wonder if the England cricketers' Noosa Drinking Club could have rivaled Big Jack's Island. Doubtful. We'll also hear from the West Ham fans who've issued another damning statement on their board. Look ahead to a bumper few days in the EFL and discover whether Cassie's penalty record is anywhere near to Raul Jimenez. There's all this, plus we'll hear from the Premier League managers ahead of the Christmas programme, and we'll ask, is 2 up top set to become the new long throw? Yep, 6 minutes past 1. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Cass. Lovely to see you, and thank you for coming in.
That's
At very late notice. If you're wondering where's... well, Andy forgot he was working. It's easy done, isn't it? You know, you've been doing something for 25 years and you know you've got to pick up some Christmas shopping, but then you think, oh, hang on, I was supposed to be working. But thank you for coming in.
Yeah,
well, very kind of you.
You can forget to post a letter, can't you? About coming into work.
The England cricket team, I think, have scrambled his brains recently.
No, look, I'm delighted I don't have to go shopping today.
Oh, right. Was that the alternative?
My missus messaged me. I'm in Sainsbury's at the moment, getting a few bits.
And there's a battleground on it the last couple of days before.
It would be mad today.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I'm delighted to be here, and I haven't worked with you, Paul, for a long time.
No.
I mean, I've done shows with you, or been invited in as a guest, but not work alongside you.
We were talking about this because I know I was just saying to you early on, you did a documentary about a month or so ago, which went out on RTE in Ireland.
Yeah.
And it was based on your book, wasn't it? That you did with Paul Kimmage. And that's when we first met, when you came in to talk about the book. That's about 25 years ago.
Well, next year, Paul,
is
25 years, the book, since I started with Paul Kimmage, the author, who was brilliant, and also 25 years with The Times and 25 years with talkSPORT, on and off, because I've not been on the full time with talkSPORT.
No.
So next year's quite a big celebration for me on different fronts. And and
so how many years you been retired then? Is that the same?
2000 I retired. I had 1 year off in France where I stayed, and you can't believe this, Paul. This is just how mad systems can be in countries.
Yeah.
I when I retired, my then wife said to me, "You can claim unemployment." So I said, "Oh, really? She went, "You can claim unemployment. There is platforms, they call it in France.
Yeah.
You're platformed to what your wages were,
right?
And it's nowhere near as high.
Sure.
But the wage I was getting paid unemployment in my first year in France, €3,200 a month.
Wow, wait.
Right? And it would go down over a 3-year period. So the second year it'd go to like 2.8 and then go to 2.
That's after a career as a professional footballer.
The idea was always based on that even if you've had a really successful career, that you have an opportunity, if you're in something like football, that you find another career, you have enough time to take care of yourself and your family, that you still get a wage. Now, I remember thinking, that's just bonkers. I'm getting €3,200 a month.
Yeah.
But I did have a year and a bit off, and had the opportunity to get back involved in the media. So I didn't do the 3 years, but I come back after a year. I did the first year of getting unemployment money.
So when Kylian Mbappe retires,
he'll be in time.
Imagine him tell, have you worked since you last signed on? No, I haven't, actually.
But it was crazy
pulling up in a solid gold Bentley.
But it was all structured on your wages as well.
Yeah.
So there was like the levies. If you're on the high wage, you still got the highest payment. And, did we need it at that time? No, absolutely not. We didn't. But that was the system. And still to this day, I still find it amazing.
I feel like I've had a bit of a Ireland late 80s, early 90s session today, because Chris Hughton lives near me, your old teammate,
Chris,
former Spurs fan. And I saw Chrissy on the train. I said, I was working with you today, and he sends his regards. And he said no one could wind up Jack Charlton, but in a good way, because he kind of loved it. Andy Townsend and Cass, they would kind of, you kind of wind him up in a way that no other players could do.
Yeah, well, there was one, I didn't tell you this one. I told you another one off air, but I tell you this one that I did with Andy. We're in a pub, and Jack did let us let our hair down every now and again. And I'm in this pub, and Andy said, Jack's had a couple, and I said to Andy, I'm going to say to Jack, I'd love to have played against you, Jack.
Yeah.
Right? And he went, ooh, like thinking that. So we're having a Jack, and I went, do you know what, Jack? I'd love to have played against you. He went blue in the face.
Oh, really?
Literally, I'd have absolutely, and literally went in a meltdown in front of the lads about, it's a wind-up, Jack. Yeah. He literally went into one. And Andy thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
Because he just watched Jack go into meltdown. It was brilliant. But I would do it and Andy would do it. We both did it to Jack. But Jack loved it as well. He knew it was part of the sort of camaraderie between players and a manager. And Kevin Sheedy, we were playing Hearts. You know the game Hearts, where if you get the Queen of Spades, you put it on someone, they get 25 points. And Jack Charlton says to him, because he can lay the Queen of Spades on Jack's hand, which meant you get 25 points. He said, if you put that card down on me, you're not playing tomorrow. Sheets was holding it on. I'm going, Sheets, put it down. What are you pulling it for? And he was like, no.
power.
He bottled
Imagine
it.
that now. They'd be straight off to the chairman, wouldn't they? Straight off to the head of the FA or whatever.
Oh, don't. Very funny experiences, though, Paul.
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
Really
it sounded like it was a fun time to play, you know.
It was. And also, I believe, and people will disagree with me, I think the 80s and 90s were by far one of the best periods to play football. There was so much change, and the game was evolving by the 90s that we saw all this talent come through from different countries. I just thought it was a really exciting, but there was still the core of lots of English, Irish players involved in the game.
And so much so, we're now seeing a lot of it come back. We're seeing long throws coming back. I suppose, how long is it before the shorts get bigger and the shirts get baggier? But two up top, we're going to come on to this later on. Maybe during our EFL chat, because you said QPR are doing the same thing. But we know Leeds, it's made a big difference to them. Certainly it's made a big difference to Dominic Calvert-Lewin. And again, we're going to have a chat about him later on. But, we're on if two up top could be the new long throw. Because you said in your Times piece yesterday that there can't be a striker out there who likes playing up there on their own. And you probably get the best out of a player when they've got a bit of help around them.
Well, my point was that every striker I know, from John Aldridge, Kerry Dixon, Teddy Sheringham, and many, many others, Clive Allen, loads of them, I don't know any of them have ever said they prefer to play on their own.
Yeah.
They don't. They want a partner to take the load off them. The game changed, I think, obviously because of what Barcelona did with the extra man in midfield, and you had, Xavi, Iniesta, Busquets, who could just keep the ball for fun. That every team felt they had to have another body in there, otherwise they'd never get the ball.
Yeah.
But I do believe that a team will come back, and it will be in top flight football. That will be the theme of two up front.
Yeah.
I think it's coming round the corner. I was so delighted watching Calvert-Lewin play and think, even for his 2 goals, you take his 2 goals from the long throw by Ampadu, he hasn't been the guy flicking it on.
No.
He's the guy getting on the end of the flick on.
Yeah, yeah.
Which that to me was a first, because Calvert-Lewin would probably for long periods be like, you flick it on, but he's a goal scorer. He's meant to be a player. And you look at his numbers this year, and okay, it's early days, but I just feel if he stays fit, there's something very different in Calvert-Lewin.
You think he's the best header of the ball in the Premier League?
In the modern, I think certainly out of all the centre forwards, he's got an unbelievable leap. He can hang. Look, the bottom line is, Paul, he hasn't been able to get on the field enough.
No.
That's been, he's here.
Been injuries or confidence or a bit of both.
I listened to a podcast he'd done in the summer called High Performance, and he talked a lot about things that had to change. And part of it was not being injured. How do I avoid injury? Look, sometimes you can't. If you take a bad leg break, like of it, obviously Isaac, you can't avoid that. But there are injuries, especially muscles, that you can avoid. And I think the way he spoke, I think he made a lot of sense.
I've always felt that some players, after injuries, don't really trust their bodies either. Maybe it's more noticeable with explosive players like wingers. So I think I saw it with Bale when he came back to Spurs. Yeah. And I saw it with Ryan Sessegnon, who seems to go over it now. But players that relied a lot on pace and getting past players didn't trust their bodies because they'd had bad injuries, and they probably thought every time they went into a sprint, the hamstring would go again or the calf would go again. But maybe it's, for strikers, it's they're not doing that kind of running. But it's hard when you've had a lot of injuries. You must go into games scared now and again.
Yeah, look, you're amazing. You think even with some injuries, if it's niggles and operations on hamstrings now, that some players in their head thinking, is this going to be the end of my career? Is this an injury career threatening? Is it that bad?
Yeah.
By the way, Calvert-Lewin, I watched at Brighton last year. I went to there to do a piece on him, and he came off after 12 minutes, and I was right next to behind the dugout where the press box is, and Calvert-Lewin looked like to me, and I might be wrong because I don't know.
Yeah.
But he looked like he had a gym body,
right?
Which is more vulnerable because you've got a lot more. You're doing a lot of muscle work in all different parts of the body, and I felt he looked a little bit bulky.
Yeah, bit muscle bound.
And he did. He got injured in Jan, and he didn't play till May with a hamstring injury.
Yeah.
So it hurt him dearly. Well,
that could be on Daniel Farke and his coaches who've spotted.
I don't know. I'd love to do an interview with him and have a chat and just about all the injuries he had at Everton over a 4-year period, because under Ancelotti he was playing fantastic.
Yeah, no, he was. Well, look, maybe he'll give us a
Yes, I'd love
a call on the way home from training, Dom. That would be lovely to have a chat with you. Yeah. Cass is a fan, clearly. But Mo Salah, we both watched the highlights of. We didn't see it live, but in AFCON, a good performance by Mo Salah. and an important goal. He got the winner in the 91st minute, but there was more to it than that. Alistair Haworth is going to join us. He's an AFCON correspondent. He's out there at the moment for the tournament, and we'll get his take on what we saw from Mo Salah last night. We'll also be chatting to Elliot Steele in his first hour. He's a comedian, the Crystal Palace fan. We bring you Arsenal Palace tonight. We'll get an Arsenal angle on the game a little bit later on. West Ham fans not happy. Their fan advisory board have written an open letter today to the board, wanting more answers. Not the first time they've done it, and the answers are still not forthcoming. And Andy Payne from Hammers United and the advisory board is going to be joining us to tell us why they're unhappy. Good look at the EFL. Lovely window for the EFL with only one game in the evening on Boxing Day. Chance to go and see your local EFL club or your local non-league club as well. So that's all to come. It's Paul Hawksbee, Tony Cascarino here on talkSPORT with Tool Station. Stay one step ahead, whatever the job. Next stop, Tool Station. Paul Hawksbee, Tony Cascarino here on talkSPORT. We're going to head off to AFCON very shortly, where Mo Salah had a telling contribution. They're winning their first game. But first off to Ali Pally. Paul Nicholson's got an update for us on the darts.
Yes, indeed, Paul. We are at Alexandra Palace for the 13th day in a row. Pre-Christmas, today is the last day before we all take 3 days off. We will reconvene on the 27th. But we got our first game of the day on the stage right now between Ipswich Town fan Ryan Meikle, who's just taken the first leg of the third set. But Johnny Tata of New Zealand has got a 2-0 lead. Nobody from New Zealand has ever made the last 32 of this competition since it started in 1994, and he is as close as anyone has ever been. He's playing beautifully with 6 180s and really good doubling. He's 2-0 up in an afternoon of 4 games. We've got Daryl Gurney against Rids, we've got Jermaine Watamina against Scott Williams, and Peter Wright, the 2-time champion, against Arnold Merck. We have full live commentary on talkSPORT 2 and the talkSPORT Darts YouTube channel this afternoon.
PDC World Darts Championship update on talkSPORT with Village Hotels. Hit the bullseye this New Year's Eve. Party at one of our New Year's Eve events. 34 locations across the UK. Find out more at villagehotels.com.
Yeah, Paul Hawksbee, Tony Cascarino here on talkSPORT, and Cass is a Liverpool fan, so he would have been interested in how Mo Salah was playing last night. Well, as we said, a telling contribution in a 2-1 win against Zimbabwe in their opening game at the African Cup of Nations. But it doesn't tell the whole story. Alistair Howarth is out at AFCON. He joins us now. Hi, Alistair.
Alistair.
Hey, guys, you all right?
Yeah, we're good. Oh, again, we relied on highlights, myself and Cass. But, it looked like Mo was enjoying himself. He had a pretty free rein out there on the right against Zimbabwe, putting some great crosses that his teammates didn't deal with. Found themselves behind the 8 ball, completely against the run of play, 1-0 down. But then he pops up with the winner in the 91st minute. So a good night for him in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a bit of a funny performance because in the first half, Mo, he was terrific. He was kind of back to his best, really creative. As you said, probably should have had a couple of assists, if not for a few kind of last-ditch blocks. Could have also scored 1 or 2. Really, really looked up for it. In the second half, we kind of saw this season's Mo Salah a bit more. He got frustrated every time, things weren't coming off for him. The passes, the shots, the cross, and you could kind of see his body language. He's throwing his arms up, a bit frustrated. But then, like you said, in the last minute, coming up with the goods as he seems to for Egypt, and it kind of a great way to cap off his and Egypt's night.
Well, it's a big opportunity for Mo because it feels like redemption time in some way because of the way the season's gone so far with Liverpool. You touched on his performance, but also getting a goal. Getting a goal is important for Mo because he's always been judged on his numbers.
Absolutely. And that's the one thing that strikes you about Mohamed Salah. He's not the kind of most aesthetic player. He's not the most, at times, exciting, but he is one of the most ruthless and efficient players. And so, like you said, for him to get that one good chance to score, to get off the mark for Egypt, and also I think to show that he's still got the creative side to him that perhaps hasn't been there this season, it is a big deal for him. And I was speaking to Omar Marmoush after the game, and he was saying kind of mixed feelings of joy and relief at the final whistle because the pressure is really, really hot on this Egyptian team, and obviously especially on Mo.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, do you feel sometimes you need games like this and sort of ugly wins like this, and you look back on them when you've won the final and think that was a big moment. Do you think they've got a fighting chance of winning it? I mean, and based on last night, you might say not, but they didn't really tell the tale of the game. Egypt had a lot of chances, didn't they?
Yeah, I would say overall very encouraging performance. Like you said, first game of the tournament, it's all about winning. And for Egypt, that is a big deal. But bear in mind, they reached the final of the 2021 AFCON, but they actually haven't won an AFCON game in 90 minutes prior to this since that tournament. 8 games in a row that they'd either drawn or lost in normal time. So for them to get the 3 points is huge. And I think it is a bit like that. You have to build momentum, especially at a tournament like the African Cup of Nations. We saw at the last one, Cote d'Ivoire had a terrible start, nearly got knocked out in the group stage and went on to win it. And so I think we can't read too much into the results, but I think the performance was encouraging.
Yeah, I would add in as well that Omar Marmoush scoring as well.
Good goal, wasn't it?
Yeah, good goal. Well, terrific finish. Yeah. And, 2 Premier League players getting off the mark early in the tournament, and that's a good sign for Morocco. Morocco have always had,
Egypt.
Egypt's always had great technical players.
Yeah.
They just have.
Yeah, and Marmoush, to his credit, was superb. By far the best player on the pitch. Playing in a far deeper role. He started up front, but then very early on, Hossam actually made a switch. I think only 20 minutes to the game, bringing off the midfielder, bringing on Mustafa, and he's up to number 9. Played also at times dropping as deep as the 6. And he was sparkling. He was terrific. By far the man of the match. He deserved his goal because he kind of had done everything but score up to that point.
Yeah. We're struggling a bit with your line, Alistair, but we appreciate you joining us. Thanks very much.
Cheers, Alistair.
There's Alistair Howarth there over at AFCON in Morocco. And
it's a big thing, Paul. You know, your two strikers getting off the mark straight away for Egypt. It's a really big thing.
He's been, he's had a lot of injury issues since he went to City, and he hasn't been getting a lot of game time, and there's a few stories suggesting that Tottenham might try to land him in January. But if he has a good AFCON, I mean, again, City don't need to let him go. They've got a lot of players in that position, but that doesn't mean that they can't see more of him. I don't know.
Well, it depends how much the team that would be looking to take him are prepared to go.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a good player. If you see him, and I saw quite a lot of him before, obviously in Germany, watched him play and just feel like there's one hell of a player there. Technically, he's superb.
We'll come on to some of the transfer stories of the day a little bit later on. We've got more ground to cover, lots more to discuss. We're going to be looking ahead to tonight in the Carabao Cup. We've got that game for you live at 7 o'clock, and we'll be looking at it from a Palace and Arsenal point of view. There has been 12 press conferences of the Premier League managers today, so we'll be hearing from the best of those, all the talking points, and looking at some of the games over the festive period. And in the EFL as well as the Premier League, because we have a new EFL podcast we're going to tell you about and look at some of the big stories, see what the Sheffield Wednesday fans are making of Mike Ashley potentially being their new owner. Yeah, nice. It's Paul Hawksbee, Tony Cascarino here on talkSPORT. The news headlines are next.
easy holiday enjoyed by England's players down under is going to be investigated by ECB bosses. They had a mid-Ashes break in the beach town Noosa where some players reportedly drank excessively before losing the third test. But Steve Armisen has told talkSPORT it's not a black and white situation.
If they've gone 60 a bender, bang them against the wall and they get what they deserve. But if they've been caught having a couple of pints in the middle of the afternoon when the world is ending, I'm not hammering them for this.
Meanwhile, Aussie skipper Pat Cummins will play no further part in the Ashes. Back here, Marco Silva says Fulham's 1-0 home win to Forest is massive for his side, but he's also been criticising the festive schedule coming up.
I have to say the word, but it's mad in the new year. The first 3 games, if you play the first, the 4 and the 7 and the 10 is big risk, not just for us, for the other teams.
Raul Jimenez now has the joint best penalty conversion rate in Premier League history after scoring in that 1-0 win over Forest. Now, Alexander Isak's had surgery on a fractured leg, and Liverpool say they've currently got no time frame for the striker's return. Jason Cundy is absolutely flabbergasted Isak wasn't stretchered off the pitch at Spurs.
It's their job to care for his well-being, for his fitness and his health. And like I said, this ain't just Liverpool, by the way. They're all at it. You watch, players get taken off and there's a stretcher. Get the little buggies on.
Well, it's Paul Hawksbee, Tony Cascarino here on talkSPORT. To get in touch this afternoon on anything we're discussing, always good to hear from you. talksport.com/H&J. Text to 81089. You can tweet to TSH&J. We were just having a chat with Alistair Howarth over at AFCON about Mo Salah and getting the winning goal for Egypt. And as we said, Cass is a Liverpool fan. Remind people, as a boy from Kent who played for Millwall, why you ended up being a Liverpool fan.
A long story regarding my dad. He used to play Beatles music all the time when I was a young lad and got intrigued. And then I saw Shankly on the TV as a very young boy and got quite intrigued. And I just had an affinity with Liverpool.
Wow.
No more than that.
Were there many other kids in your playground?
No, not really. Fans? No, quite a number of Manchester United, but obviously loads of London.
Because that was the sort of best Lord Charlton era,
exactly.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
Lots of Man United fans and lots of London clubs. And I went to loads of London teams and with all my mates to watch different teams all the time, from Millwall, Chelsea, West Ham, Arsenal, Tottenham, loads of them.
Yeah.
But I just never had the same affinity as I did with Liverpool.
On my little journey in with your old Ireland teammate Chris Hughton today, chatting to him, we got on to Antoine Semenyo and sort of having a chat about him because Chris was the Ghana coach, so knows him. And it was really interesting. We just sort of talked about the good fits for him. If he is going to leave. And he said what a good person he is. He said he's a really sort of solid individual. He said he's a, and I think obviously when teams buy players, you're buying the man, you're not just buying the footballer, are you? And I think that bodes well for whoever does land him, as it did for Bournemouth.
I interviewed Adam Smith, Paul, for the Weekend Sports Breakfast and chatted to him, and Semenyo came up and we talked about him, and I was so impressed at Crystal Palace when they drew 3-3. I was at Selhurst Park. They went 2-0 up and they were really good, Bournemouth. For an hour, I don't think I'd seen a team play so well as Bournemouth did, and Palace pegged them back and it ended up being 3-3. The standout features weren't so much that he could, obviously get a goal, and he's really good as well. Great tight control, but it was upper body strength and the amount of headers he won defensively for the team. He's got a great leap. He wins flick on after flick on, and that's just, another part of his armoury. He's got a lot of attributes. A really clever, fast, quite dynamic, and he come off the rails a little bit of late and didn't quite get the goals, but Bournemouth did as well. But there's one hell of a player there, that's for sure. He'll have a lot of choice. At 65 million, I think there'll be a good few clubs who will try and get in there and get.
Well, it seems normally in the box seat, I suppose City and United. Arsenal, we were told yesterday not to rule out by someone that they could try and make that happen.
Yeah,
it looks like Spurs are out of the picture from what I understand.
Well, look, what you want to do, if you're going to go to a club, and look, there are some clubs you can go to that you might not play even at 65 million.
Yeah.
Like Marmoush found that out. At sort of, okay, he's had injuries as well, but the opportunities might be limited. And he might want to, because he's so humble, and this is what I was told, that, playing football week in, week out is the most important thing to him, of being in the starting lineup. That's never a guarantee anyway.
No.
But being a bit... Jack Grealish found this out with City as well, didn't he? Although he had opportunities at times quite a lot, it always felt he was on the fringe of the team, especially in the last sort of 18 months.
Yeah.
So it's a tough one for a player. Do you want to go to a team that you might not play as much and feel a little bit less important? Or do you want to try and become the main man at a football club?
Of those options, it's difficult to know, isn't it? He's probably going to start practically all the time at Manchester United if he goes there. As you said, at City, that's less.
Arsenal
have got options in that.
Arsenal got options to come back. Yeah, do you go for that option of going, it's going to be competitive? Look, big clubs, you have competition anyway.
Yeah.
But how much of the competition is going to be, you're going to play relatively way fewer games. His numbers will drop, probably, because that just happens. You're not playing enough football. Or you're in the start. Kudus went to Spurs and he's played nearly all the time, hasn't he?
He has, yeah.
He could have gone to another club and not played as much.
Yeah.
Now, it hasn't been a particularly great season for Spurs so far.
Yeah.
And initially he started really well. So it's a really... You've got to go with your gut feeling and what you feel is the right move for you.
Well, the other option is Liverpool, of course. And Liverpool now with this injury to Isak... because he can play right, he can play left. He can do a job either side. Semenyo, we're on a slot saying people think we've got an endless pit of money, but we haven't. But they might find the money for a player that's that versatile when they need somebody. Can you see him going to Liverpool? Would you like him at Liverpool?
Well, the loss of Luis Diaz was a big one. I said in the summer it's the one player I don't want to lose, and yet it felt inevitable because Liverpool had to balance the books to some degree, and his age was 28 at the time.
Yeah.
So Luis Diaz left the football club. But I thought that ripped a lot out of Liverpool because he's a tenacious player. He's running. They had tenacious players like Núñez, and then they had a tenacious player like, obviously the loss of Jota. He was a tenacious player.
Yeah.
So was Diaz. Liverpool lost that in their forward line.
Yeah.
Harvey Elliott was a tenacious player for Liverpool when he was called upon to come off the bench. So they had that sort of dynamic in their forward line.
I noticed that the other day.
It was the other day.
I thought I'd seen that.
Disappointed. Liverpool really disappointed.
Yeah, they didn't have a good... And that pressing really sort of aggressively high up, that seems to have gone, really. They didn't look like anywhere near as good at it as they were before.
Well, I thought the first half was one of the worst I've seen between Spurs and Liverpool. Of the lack of intent by both teams.
Yeah.
And Liverpool were, in the end, I thought quite fortunate to get a result because Liverpool not playing well, and they haven't really played particularly well all season. I think, was it Eintracht Frankfurt? They won 5-1 away from home, and that game was against a team that, if you look at the goals they concede, Eintracht Frankfurt, it's alarming. It's literally, they're so off of what the Klopp team was now. And that's going to be something that Arne Slot has got, which he found last year. He found a way of still being a side that were adventurous and quite brave, but they've come off that this year.
Yeah.
So it's obviously a conundrum for him to solve.
There is. You mentioned Harvey Elliott, and there's a few stories today suggesting that they could possibly bring him back on loan. I think Arne Slot's been talking about it in the press conference today, and they said he's an Aston Villa player, but. It would have been an option. How would you have felt about him coming back? He's having said that he worked well in that system before.
Yeah, I like Harvey Elliott, always have. He's gone and had a move, and it ain't worked out.
No.
He's found it hard to get himself into the team. Unai Emery obviously doesn't think he's worthy, and he hasn't played well enough when he has been called upon to be in the team. So Harvey Elliott's what now, 24?
Yeah.
24, something like that. he's got to be playing regular football. One of the reasons he did go out on loan is to play regular football because he wasn't going to get guaranteed it at Liverpool.
He was actually getting more football at Liverpool.
Yeah,
wasn't
and he is, yeah, which just shows you you can take a move and it doesn't work out. I've been there myself when it hasn't worked out. So.
Yeah. Where would you like to see him by then? Final word on Liverpool. If they're not going to bring Semenyo in, is there somebody? Is there a position? Centre half, obviously. But Gay's not going to happen. You actually don't think he's going to Liverpool?
No, I think Real Madrid will get him.
Yeah.
Because if they find a free transfer, and they do like doing it, and they get someone for nothing, and they go, the connection with what Trent did and how he left the football club at Liverpool and going for months, we didn't know we knew that Real Madrid were in there, but still didn't quite know the outcome. And then you've got Bellingham, and look, when everyone knows, Alonso knows that Mark Gay is available for nothing.
Yeah.
Right? And hopefully he'll think he's the manager. It's a signing they make. And it's very hard to compete against Real Madrid. If they come in for you, I can't remember too many saying, I turn Real Madrid down.
Yeah.
Can you?
No, that's true.
So I would be amazed if Real Madrid weren't in for him.
Yeah.
More than, other clubs offering him these packages. And the big thing about going abroad, Paul, is that if your sign-on fee is up front, which in the UK, the Premier League, if you sign a 4-year deal, you get 25% of your sign-on fee over the duration of your contract, 25 every year.
Yeah.
So, like Rudiger found out when he left Chelsea, he goes to Real Madrid, his sign-on fee would have been all up front.
This is quite nice as well, isn't it?
Exactly.
And it's all, it's no fee.
I'm still thinking that's as it is today because it was the same when I went to France. So sign-on fee meant it's the day you signed, you got a fee.
Yeah.
But the Premier League designed rules to, obviously make it a bit more tricky because players could come and get the crown jewels and then disappear again.
Yeah.
But when you go into Real Madrid, that's not really going to happen. There isn't a bigger club in the world, really. So I think if that offer's on the table and the silence is shouting at me saying that Real Madrid are going to get off.
Yeah. I don't know if there's anybody obviously out there in January that you can land in.
I love
Liverpool's point of view.
If he was a bit younger, again, he's still in relative terms. Really like the boy Ballard, what he's done for Sunderland. I thought he's been outstanding for them.
Yeah.
And watched him at Chelsea. His passing was exceptional as well. And when they won at Stamford Bridge, he led by example.
That'd be a tough. The way Sunderland have started, that'd be a tough
26, one. I'm not sure what he's around. He's in sort of 27 mark age. So but there's still. I mean, look, he's still one hell of a signing. He's been for, how long he's been at Sunderland. He's done brilliantly.
We're going to talk transfers a little bit later on with Ben Jacobs. We'll try and get the strength of that Marmouche, the Spurs story, but it does feel like he's got unfinished business there because he's been injured for quite a lot of his short time there. But we're going to turn our attention to tonight's live games. Live game, should I say, very shortly. It's Arsenal v Palace in the Carabao Cup quarter-finals, live on talkSPORT. We'll talk Arsenal later on and some of the stories surrounding that fixture and some of the personnel that will get a game that have been missing out in the Premier League. But really, the narrative around Palace is just the amount of football they've been playing.
Too much.
Yeah,
it's too much. They had 29 games already this season. I mean, they changed a lot of their team in the European game in midweek and played their closest first team against
But then
Leeds.
ended up, the trouble with that, because they had a game on the Saturday night, he put out a different 11, ended up drawing, and has now got 2 extra games, playoffs in the Conference League because of that, whereas few more players in the first team, and he wouldn't have had to worry about it, and they could have probably seen that out.
And they haven't got the squad big enough to handle all that. No, they haven't.
And it's frustrating the manager, certainly. Anyway, we'll come on to that. Elliot Steele, comedian, Palace fan, joining us for a chat. We're here with Tool Station. Pick up your wet weather essentials today. Next stop, Tool Station. So just the one game tonight for you, but it's not a bad one. It is a quarter-final of the Carabao Cup, and it sees Arsenal take on Palace. Our producer, George, is off there at the game.
Yes.
27 quid. So I think that's
reasonable.
Pretty decent value for an all-Premier League game. I don't know what the Palace fans have been expected to play. Hopefully a similar amount. I mean, I've been reading stuff around this. In the build-up of the game, I saw some quotes from Oliver Glasner saying that the Conference League is maybe treated as a bit of a poor relation by the Premier League because they think you can play in it on a Thursday night and then play a Premier League game on a Saturday night. So they go into this, because it's another game right off the back of it, possibly with a bit of indignation, the Palace fans. Let's find out. Elliot Steele, Palace fan, comedian, joins us now. Hi, Elliot.
How are you, Elliot?
How you doing? You good?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, not bad. So how are you feeling about the Premier League? They off your Christmas card list for what they've been making you do?
Oh, let's just lose tonight. I can't be bothered with it. I can't be bothered. I don't. There's too many games. We used to never be on telly, and now we're on telly too much. And there's too many games, and there's too many things to do. I liked it when we were 12th on the telly 5 times a year, and they were games you could. Now it's every week. I have to ignore my friends, ignore my family, because I've got to go watch us lose 4-1 to Leeds.
Yeah,
and that's because we're playing way too many games, and we haven't got the squad depth to deal with this. But this is the price of success. We won an FA Cup. Everyone sort of goes, they really like Palace, and they're sort of second teams now, and we don't appreciate that. We don't want to be your second team.
I don't think the Brighton fans are saying you're their second team.
No, probably not. No, they're probably thrilled that we've got to play 5 games every day for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
But it's just a bit, it's a bit too much of the scheduling. But it's like all of football now. It's just how much money can we make? How many games can we put everywhere? How many more teams can we cram into a tournament? How many more pointless tournaments can we make? So every day that there's a football game, so we can just suck money out of this. And then eventually all the players are going to break their legs because they're not going to have time to rest or train or recover. So it's like everything. It's just a sport that's being so over-commercialized at the minute and taken away from what it needs to be. They're not listening to the managers. They're not listening to the players. So, it is what it is. But this is our first season of it, so we'll enjoy it.
Do you have much sympathy, Cass, with that? Because a lot of old players of your vintage are we played 3 games a week and 2 on a week, whatever. Do you have sympathy for the players and the amount of football?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll tell you for why, Paul. You put a game on of 1980 and put a game on today and watch the pace of the game. The game of today's way quicker.
Yeah.
Fullbacks are doing doggies, literally going up and back 30, 40 times a game. Which you used to have the old sitting fullbacks and just old professionals, experienced pros would sit there and just mark their player. And this is across the field. Look at midfielders. You're seeing the running numbers. They're extraordinary.
Yeah.
These are fine-tuned athletes.
Yeah.
And to expect them to go 3 days and then another 3 days. I mean, as Elliot said there about the game against Leeds and losing 4-1, you saw that against Man City when they lost 3-0 at home. That wasn't the Palace of the start of the season. That was a much more affected Crystal Palace team. That when they get their training and their programme right and they get enough time in between matches, Palace are a real handful to play against.
Yeah, and he does strike you, doesn't he, Glasner, as a man who really wants to do his preparation and get things right, and he's clearly being pretty hamstrung by this fixture congestion, Elliot, isn't he?
So exactly. It's, the reason we before we won that FA Cup, we lost 4-2 to Manchester City. So he was able to, in that game between then and the FA Cup final, work out what the tactic needed to be and what to do. He's not going to be able to do that probably against Arsenal tonight. He's probably not. I think Arsenal are by far the best team of the league this year. I think to be fair though, Arteta will also be looking at this a little bit like, I don't, if we win it, we're in the semi-final, but we've also got the Champions League, we've also got the league. There's so many, so both managers right now, I think, are looking at the Carabao Cup kind of going like, look, it's great if we get through and we're in the semi-final, but that's another 2 games. And as well as we've got to play another 2 games because we didn't automatically qualify for the round of 16 in the Conference League. It's just going to be so congested, and part of that's our own making, because we dropped so many points that we probably should have won in the Conference League, because we underestimated other teams, which is now as a team that used to be underestimated, it's our turn to be the team that's underestimating other teams, which is quite an odd position for us to be in.
Cass was saying off air, we were talking off air, Tony, weren't we, about Glasner. And we talk about Gay and not knowing, well, we kind of know what his future is. He's going to be gone at the end of the season. But what about Glasner and the uncertainty of the fact that you don't know if he's going to be there next season? Are you kind of feeling that he won't be as time goes on? Some of the things he said about the board?
I don't think he will be, but I think it's very easy to, as a football fan, to be very reactionary to things. Whereas you remember if this time literally this time last year, we had a 3-1 win over Brighton, which is where our season turned around. And before that, there were people going, I think Glasner's got to go. That was genuinely a talk within the club. There were people saying that they didn't do that. So it's, as a football fan, people are so reactionary to the thing. So now that Glasner might leave at the end of the season, I kind of have faith within the board to sort of find a replacement, and the system have. And I hate to say it, sort of like Brighton do, the way their recruitment has worked, the way they've been able to go on. I like to think that we've got a bit of that for the club, that it's the system that we have that's working and not just down to one person. I still think one of the biggest losses to the club was when Dougie Friedman left, because he was just incredible at recruiting players. So I try to, as a football fan, not to be too reactionary to the now and sort of try to think, these are businessmen who run these things. They do think more long term, whereas I'm just a passenger on the train who enjoys it. If it's going wrong at one point, I might be able to scream and say the board needs to go. But we have to remember that without Steve Parish, we wouldn't have the things we have. I don't want to sound like I'm, some company man just singing about Crystal Palace, but that is the reality of it. He took the club from, the brink, and we've now won an FA Cup, and we're now people talking about us getting Champions League this year, which we're not going to do. That's too big an ask for us to have the consistency with this many games with the squad we've got. It's probably not going to happen. We're going to find ourselves 12th again, which is what we belong and is our position.
Well, enjoy tonight. What are you up to comedy-wise at the moment, Elliot?
I've got loads going on. If people want to check out my podcast where I can say these things a little bit less unfiltered, it's called The Drive Time Show with me and fellow comedian Jamali Maddox. I've also got a special out on YouTube that's done very well. So if you want to go watch that, go watch that. Don't watch it with your family over Christmas. Then.
It's not one for the kids, just after the King's speech. No.
I think it should be on instead of the King's speech, personally. If I had my way.
Well, look, enjoy the game tonight. Have a good Christmas, Elliot. Thanks very much, mate.
Cheers, Elliot.
Thank you so much, guys.
Take care. There's Elliot still there, comedian and Palace fan. That one live. Harry Simmy, who joins us a little bit later on, because Arsenal are going to be... It'll be a bit of a mix and match team for Palace tonight. You'll see sort of Wharton and one, but there'll be other different players playing. I imagine Gay will play. You're not going to throw it away.
Yeah,
because they're not playing to the weekend now. They've got a rest, haven't they? About 3 days. They can really relax and go to Dubai.
We're all guilty of this, Paul, and especially players of my era, where we go, we played on muddy fields or where pitches that weren't conducive to playing the good football and took it out of your legs and all things like this. But I do look at modern football and thinking, you can't play every 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
Week in, week out. You just can't. And I had a discussion with someone one day, and he said, well, boxers. I said, boxers? I said, some of them have one fight a year. They fight for 36 minutes.
Yeah.
I know they do incredible training to get to that super high level.
Well, unless you're playing agaest Christian
But imagine saying boxing every Saturday.
Punched in the face, do you?
Yeah. No, but do you know what I mean? As in a sport, if you were fighting every Saturday, you wouldn't be able to maintain that.
No.
That'd be impossible. And football's no different when you're talking about the physical side of footballers and other sports where...
It's true what Elliot says. You wonder about the kind of why the people in charge of football don't play the long game. You've got the Players' Union saying to FIFA, we've got too much football. And the answer to that by Gianni Infantino is to come up with a Club World Cup. So have more football and make World Cups longer and have, and UEFA make Champions League and all other competitions.
Well, FIFA, I think the World Cup in America, and obviously in 26 next summer, is looking at revenue of 14 billion. If you go through World Cups over the last 2 or 3 decades, you'll see it's nearly doubled nearly all the time in revenue.
Well,
so there's the answer why.
Yeah, no, it's true. But at what cost, I guess, somewhere down the line?
They don't care about the club cost, do they? The clubs care about their players.
Yeah.
But the international side of it is...
No, if you have a World Cup where Kylian Mbappe's just done his hamstring and he's not going to be... If you've got 4 or 5 of the world's biggest players not at a World Cup because they're all flogged and all injured... Maybe it would focus...
Or suspended and then get let back in.
Oh, yeah, let back in, which I think we all predicted would happen, Anyway, we're going to talk West Ham next. the fan advisory board was supposed to have a dialogue. The idea of the fan advisory boards at all clubs was to have a dialogue with the clubs and them not just pay lip service to them. That's what it sounds like is certainly happening at West Ham. Andy Payne is from Hammers United and part of the advisory board. They've written an open letter to their board today. And, yeah, it's pretty damning stuff. Andy will talk us through it in a few moments' time. Keep you in touch with the darts this afternoon. Daryl Gurney just about to go into action. We'll also be talking a bit of West Ham next. Arsenal still to come. Look at the EFL over Christmas, etc. with me and Cass. But first, Amelia Beltrao has the sports headlines.
talkSPORT Sports Update powered by the Nissan Van Range. Commercial vehicles built around your business. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
Thank you, Paul, and a very good afternoon. Alexander Isak's leg break is not as bad as first feared. Arne Slot expects his record signing to be out for a couple of months, but the Liverpool boss isn't happy with what caused the injury.
This was, for me, a reckless challenge. The tackle of Van der Ven. If you make that tackle 10 times, I think 10 times, there's a serious chance that a player gets a serious injury.
Now, talkSPORT understands clubs only have the first 10 days of the January window to trigger Antoine Semenyo's release clause of between £60 million and £65 million. A number of clubs are keen to sign him. Simon Jordan reckons he should choose City, but only if Pep stays.
If you're joining Man City, it's because you want to play for Pep Guardiola. If Pep Guardiola is not going to be there in 6 months' time, that will influence your thinking. But nothing's going to change Manchester City. They're going to keep on powering forward, whether Pep Guardiola stays there or not.
Now, Newcastle want the referee's body to clarify the decision not to give them a penalty against Chelsea at the weekend. Anthony Gordon went down after a challenge from Trevor Chalobah in the draw at St James's Park. Here's Eddie Howe.
one of the arts of defending is not to put yourself in that position. I thought, and I still do, it was a clear penalty. Having reviewed it, I've not changed my mind. But it wasn't given, and my time is best spent moving forward rather than backwards.
Cricket now, and the ECB is going to investigate what went down during a break from the Ashes series in the beach town of Noosa. Apparently, the England squad were drinking excessively, with reports likening the session to a stag do. And a new video circulating on social media appears to show Ben Duckett drunk and slurring his words. Meanwhile, Aussie captain Pat Cummins and spinner Nathan Lyon will miss the rest of the series that resumes on Boxing Day. For more Ashes reaction, listen to the following on podcast or head to talkSPORT's cricket YouTube channel.
talkSPORT News.
2 men have been found guilty of plotting a gun attack on a mass gathering of Jewish people in Manchester. And good news for farmers as the government changes the inheritance tax threshold. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Get a free vehicle safety check at all of our 600 centres nationwide to keep you safe on the road. QuickFit. Drive away happy every time.
We're expecting a cloudy afternoon for most parts of the UK with light rain for some. Brief brightness is possible though in the west.
Paul Hawksbee, Tony Cascarino here on talkSPORT with you through until 4. Dan Fudge is joining us in the studio. We've got a new EFL podcast for you, and we're going to be covering some ground in the EFL. We said a great shop window for the EFL with just one game on Boxing Day night. If you want to take in a game and avoid the family, you've got options. You can go and watch a whole programme of games in the EFL and in the National League and beyond. So, we'll be looking at some of the big games and some of the big stories. Talking a bit of Arsenal in this hour. And very shortly, some West Ham. And Matt Pryor, former England cricketer, is going to join us for a chat in light of all the fallout from the Ashes. Always in a situation like this, when you lose a game or you lose a big game. I'm just talking to you earlier on. I'm sure over the years of the player, you've gone out as a group after a match and maybe you've lost and encountered fans and they're a bit bitter and wondering what you're doing in the pub when you've lost a game. You should be as upset as they are.
Yeah, it's always a difficult one, Paul, because there's even managers that have said, you lot need to go and sort it out. Go out. Yeah. Sort it out between you.
Yeah.
You know.
Maybe there's an element of that in the cricket. We'll talk to Matt Pryor about it. Maybe there's an element of like, okay, just get away from it all. Go and have some honest conversations over a few beers about what's going wrong. Not that it made any difference in the third test.
No, that doesn't sometimes end up well either.
No.
Because someone might say something a bit too much. It was interesting.
Have fights broken out over the years?
Well, say fights. There's been... people get serious and get upset and then they take it personally.
And they've had a drink, so it feels 10 times
who's the scapegoat?
Worse. Yeah.
If we take the Matt Doherty situation at Wolves, where he calls out cowards and players are, clearly not showing interest, there might be a player and say, who are you talking about? Who are you talking about, Matt? Who are you referring to?
Yeah. So who did you mean exactly?
Yeah, exactly.
When you said there weren't players who cared as much as he did.
Yeah, exactly. So it can backfire as well, big time.
Yeah.
Look, I've been out with players and then we've gone and got a result. You just only can do it now and again. If you're going to do it, you can only do it now and again. But when you're losing 3-0 and you're then going out and it's over, the series is done.
Yeah.
And you go out, there is only one way that's going to end, and that's going to be criticism.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have a chat with Matt Pryor a little bit later on. And I want to talk to you about the comments from Arne Slot about the Mickey van der Ven tackle. We'll do that in a minute because I'm going to talk West Ham. And an open letter to the West Ham board has emerged today, and it is pretty damning stuff. It's a vote of no confidence in the club's leadership. I was quite shocked. I was telling you, Cass, a stat appeared today. 5-point gap between the bottom three and the rest of the Premier League is the biggest ever at Christmas. And look, 5 points isn't insurmountable for West Ham.
No, of course not.
It's not a good situation to be in.
No, West Ham fans are, they're within their rights to be wanting to know what is going on at their football club, because I can't get how they can get so many transfers wrong.
Yeah.
Especially in the centre forward position. If you go back to Skamaka, the boy who was Altman who came in.
We got full crew now.
Yeah, full crew, and the one before him, Hala.
Oh yeah.
They've
often gone on and scored goals elsewhere.
Hala, it's Sebastian Hala.
That's right. Yeah.
Anyway, they've had a number of them, and then you bring in Callum Wilson, and Callum, if he plays, I think he'll do well for them. But there's been a lot of transfers that backfired, and the relationship between the board and the fans, and I would even say some of the relationship, and from people I know, relationship with ex-players as well.
Yeah,
that they don't like ex-players saying anything that if they see wrong. Well,
No.
come on, you can't have it all if it's all rosy.
Let's have
no better to speak to than the West Ham advisory member.
That's right. Andy Payne is the Joint Secretary of the Hammers United, co-chair of the West Ham United Fan Advisory Board. Hi, Andy.
Hi, Andy.
Boys. The thing about the advisory boards, I always did. I thought it was a nice idea in principle, but I did worry that the clubs would just sort of pat everybody on the head and not actually do anything. I mean, what has your experience been in dealing with the club? Clearly, from the look of this letter, and it's not the first time you've said you've got really no confidence in them, that you've had to do this. So clearly it's not been a particularly good dialogue between you.
No, the dialogue's been pretty robust, and it's been detailed. I think our job as elected members of the Fan Advisory Board is to represent what the fans are asking us to represent. Look at us like a union, really, if you will, without getting anywhere near political. I think the bottom line for us is there are a number of questions. I mean, Tony just highlighted it with our transfer policy, our player trading. There's a whole load of things at West Ham that seem to be just not clear to anybody, possibly even the board at West Ham, as to what is happening. Where's the strategy? What's the governance? Who's actually in charge of the club? Where is the data? Where is the where is the information? We seem to be really flapping around like a drunk at a wedding, frankly. The drunken uncle comes...
How good a manager is and how things were good and how much work he puts in. And it didn't last much longer before he was gone. So it felt like it was a lot of shallow talk for me that come from Karen Brady.
Well, I couldn't possibly comment on that, Tony. But what I could say is that when we did our vote of no confidence in the board, the Fan Advisory Board took the unprecedented step of putting a vote of no confidence in our board at West Ham. Shortly afterwards, the club came up with a statement that espoused the virtues of said Graham Potter and all of his systems and his vision for the team and the club. A matter of days, he was sacked, and Nuno was brought in. So that was not the fans' fault. We didn't appoint Graham Potter. We didn't appoint Julian Lopetegui. We didn't sack those people. And West Ham fans do come in for a bit of stick from some. The kind of careful what you wish for, and all you lot want is, like the West Ham way. What is that? All of that stuff. Forget it. We're sitting there, standing or sitting, paying our money, and we're just seeing, a merry-go-round, really, of people jumping on and jumping off again. There needs to be some stability in order to have a stable business. I mean, I know football's tough. It's a results business, and, I'm not involved in it. Tony, you were, so you're much more qualified to talk about this stuff. But the bottom line is that surely to goodness there needs to be a strategy. We need to know how are West Ham going about their business. Last season, they decided in their wisdom to take away the concession pricing for season tickets for disabled and for young and old people. They started to pull back on that. What were they thinking? We went in with evidence as the Fan Advisory Board. We said, look, this is a bit short-sighted. Basically, the extra revenue that they were going to derive from this was going to be, Danny Ings's wages for a month. No disrespect to Danny Ings, but that was his wages for a month. This is like, where's the plan, guys? What are you doing? Who's in charge at West Ham of actually, player trading and transfers? Because Karen Brady's told us it is not her. She's very clear about that. And whatever people say about Karen Brady, she's pretty clear about what she's responsible for and what she's not responsible for.
Finally, the phrase you hear a lot from West Ham fans is we were sold a dream. We were moved out of a ground we absolutely loved into a place that it's not really a football stadium, but you've made the very best of it and had some great nights there, of course. you win a trophy, you see the Kretinsky money come in and expect that's going to take you onto a different level. You know, 60,000 ground and all that. Everything's in place. Yet here you find yourself in the bottom three, not quite cut adrift, but it's a bit Groundhog Day, isn't it, Andy?
It is, and I think that we were sold a dream. We were told that we were going to be. It was necessary to move to the London Stadium, or the Olympic Stadium as it was at the time, in order for West Ham to step up and aim for, you know, European but Champions League places. That was what we said. A lot of us took that with, you know, a fistful of salt, frankly. But the bottom line is that is not a football stadium. Not us saying that. Every single away fan who comes there, players tell us it's not a football stadium. The rake on the stadium is so shallow because it was built for athletics. It was built to watch, you know, a 400-metre race whilst there's javelins being chucked about the place.
Well, that would liven things up, wouldn't it?
Well, I'll tell you what, if you go back a few years with our lot, that could get very lively.
Yeah, but got the hammer.
Yeah, so have the hammer. You could have the hammer thrower in the middle. Yeah,
or we could say, let's discuss it.
Yeah.
But the, I mean, look, we have got an athletic stadium. They have made modest changes. But I always look at it, you know, when it comes down to grassroots, really. We sold our house and we've now got a rental, which we don't even like.
Yeah.
And where is it? Well, I mean, I understand Manchester United Manchester City don't own their ground, but look at what they've done up there. They've changed. We were up there on Saturday. Every time you go up there, it gets bigger and better.
Yeah.
You know, apparently Arsenal don't own theirs because Stan Kroenke owns it. So it's a technical thing. And the Chelsea pitch owners own Chelsea, which is why it stays at Stamford Bridge. Well, if you're going to be a credible Premier League team, which West Ham want to be, you don't own your home.
That's true.
You can't do anything with it. You can't put pictures on the walls.
Andy, sadly, we've run out of time, but it's been good to talk to you. We wish you well, and let's hope you get some sort of decent reaction from the board. And have a good Christmas. Thanks for joining us.
Cheers, Andy.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Andy Payne there from the West Ham United Fan Advisory Board. Let's check in at the darts. We're going to be chatting to Matt Pryor, former England wicket keeper, and of course a man who knows what it's like to win the Ashes in Australia. But first, Dance gives us an update. Ali Pally. Hi, Dance.
Afternoon to you, gentlemen. We're into the second match of the afternoon session. Ryan Meikle from Ipswich, the barber, has just made it through to round 3 for the first time in his PDC career, but he had to do it the hard way. He went 2-0 down in sets in a race to 3 to the New Zealand number 1, Johnny Tatar, but it ended up being Tatar to the New Zealander as Meikle fought back. He only got his nose in front for the first time at the start of the final set, but got the job done. I can tell you he was mighty relieved to do so. Second match is in progress, and the first set has gone to Callan Rydz of Newcastle up against the Northern Irish World Cup winner Daryl Gurney. Rydz picked off a 1-6-7 outshot at a crucial point in the set to go 1-0 up, again in a race to 3. 2 more matches this afternoon. Jermaine Watamina in action, the machine gun, against Shaggy Scott Williams, and then Peter Wright will round off the afternoon against the German Arno Merken. All the action you can hear. Well, it's multimedia today. You've got the talkSPORT app with coverage. You've got the talkSPORT Darts YouTube page with our watch-alongs, and of course there's talkSPORT 2.
PDC World Darts Championship update on talkSPORT with Village Hotels. Hit the bullseye this New Year's Eve. Party at one of our New Year's Eve events. 34 locations across the UK. Find out more at villagehotels.com.
Paul Hawksbee, Tony Cascarino here on talkSPORT. The fallout continues from the Ashes defeat. And the Noosa get-together, which was supposed to set everybody up in a positive frame of mind for the third test, is now the Noosa stag do. It's interesting. Darren Lehmann, the former Aussie cricketer and coach, has said today he was in that part of the world, and this doesn't ring true to him. He didn't witness a stag do.
No.
And our own Steve Harmison was on breakfast this morning. He said he wouldn't criticise the off-pitch activities.
Yeah, we are professional sportsmen. We are working, but sometimes when you get a 4-day break, you should be allowed to look after yourself in that way. I'm not condoning what they've done. If they've been drinking, if they've gone 6-day bender, bang them against the wall, and they get what they deserve. But if they've been caught having a couple of pints in the middle of the afternoon, when the world is ending, I mean, I'm not hammering them for this. So I'm trying to put a professional perspective of what it's like being on an Ashes tour, especially if you've got a World Cup tagged on the end of it.
Let's speak to somebody else who won in Australia in the Ashes, former wicketkeeper batsman Matt Pryor. Hi, Matt.
Hi, Matt.
Hey, guys. How we doing?
Good, thank you. So, I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? I mean, there's a lot of people were saying at the time, why you're going off to Noosa, you should have naughty boy nets. They chose to go the other way, and if they'd won, no one would even be questioning this. So what do you make of all the fallout from it?
Well, it's to be expected. You go to Australia, you lose. You're going to be... people are going to come at you for everything. That's just part and parcel. I think, drinking culture, Noosa, stag do, that's, again, to be expected and not a surprise. Two things for me. One, well, first thing, they didn't lose the Ashes. They're not 3-0 down because they had a few beers in Noosa, right? Even if it was a stag do. That's the first thing we need to really be clear on. Secondly, really interesting, Darren Lehmann saying what he said. Now Lehmann loves nothing more than to stick the knife into England cricketers and England cricket teams, right? He absolutely goes for it. And even he was saying, hang on a minute, these guys need to be defended slightly, because when he was there, and he was there, he didn't see what's gone on. Now, they are England cricketers. They are playing in the Ashes. There is a way to behave. There is a professionalism that is expected and a standard of operation that is expected. There is no doubt about it. And if they went on a 6-day bender, well, they've got everything coming to them. Rob Key is going to, look into it, get this investigation. As he said, it's not going to be difficult to find out what the truth is. And if that is the truth, then people will be punished accordingly, and rightly so. Yeah. What I will say, and I'll probably go one bit further than Harmy, because I do agree with him as well. If you're going to investigate this tour, then you may as well investigate every other cricket tour having gone for drinking cultures, right? And this is something that is the PCA or whoever else it is needs to look into further, because when you're on tours, particularly the Ashes, and the intensity that you are under. Now, and I appreciate there'll be people listening here going, these are England cricketers, it's to be expected, it's what you get paid for, you're the luckiest guys on the planet, and you know what, all of that is true, right? But what I need to try and explain is when you are under it as much as these guys are, when you're in Australia particularly, and unfortunately I was on the receiving end of it myself, be it 5-0 loss in 13-14, there is no escape. There is no escape from social media, there is no escape from press, there is no escape from headlines. And England, put you in Noosa on the beach and say, right, boys, you need to go and relax and get away from it. Your only way of escapism is, or potentially one of them, is by going and having a beer and trying to pretend you're not in this terrible place that you're in, because you're 2-0 down. At the time, they were 2-0 down, and everyone's on you. And for me, I suppose what I'm trying to explain is not, is it right or wrong? That's, as I've said, if it was a 6-day bender, that is wrong. But why? Why would they feel the need to do this? And they would not be the first group of cricketers, English or other, that have been caught out. If that was the case.
Let's hope not. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what comes of Rob Key's investigation. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I was about to say to Matt that, from my experience, and there were times that we did go out, club level and international, that, you know, you were warned. You were saying, look, lads, you can go out, but be careful. Look, the eyes are on you. And obviously, you have to be even more careful when you've lost the first 3 games or the first three test matches. Yeah. You know, and that in itself, that carries a lot of weight because, as Matt said, you're professional, so you're in a privileged position of you earn good money, you're playing for your country, you should be doing everything you can. But sometimes you have to come away from that as well. And I'm sure Matt will tell you on trips that along the way, it was needed to have a break from the relentless schedule, which cricketers are doing, not even the length of the tour.
And I mean, look, good things can come from these get-togethers. It is the optics of it, and I suppose it's going to be the specifics of what Rob Key finds. There's a few other things emerging now, apparently, about individual players. We'll see what the extent of that is. I mean, just finally, Matt, how hopeful are you for these remaining 2 tests? I saw Michael Vaughan saying that so much of, you know, winning a test in 2003... he felt set them up in some ways from his point of view for 2005. There's still a lot to be learned. I mean, he says they're not dead rubbers. It's hard to see that as an England cricket fan, but how do you feel about these remaining 2 tests?
Yeah, I think, listen, Kasky, you're absolutely right firstly on the points you make. You know, and these tours are long, right? And someone like Joe Root has his family over there and is able to, and apparently he went away with them, stayed in a separate place and got away from it all. That was his way of escaping. But some of the guys won't have family there, right? They'll just be there in the group, and they've got the Ashes, right? 3-0, it's done. The Ashes, you know, that's what it is. Now, I, in a funny way, would almost get the Lions out there and say, let's prepare, because for me, this starts for our next Ashes tour. You're starting prep from now for almost our next Ashes. Now, of course, England fans, what do they want to see from their team? Fight. They want to see them going, you know, not giving up, fighting to the end, winning 3-2. That's all fantastic stuff. I'm kind of like, the guys that have been given the chance, they've not taken their opportunity, right? They've had their chance. It's now lost. Now we're looking forward. Now it's about what opportunities can we give to young players to go and play at the MCG, go play in front of those crowds. You know, everyone talks about the mentality needed to perform in Australia. Let's give young players that, or throw them in the deep end and say, right, there you go, you're playing on Boxing Day in the MCG in front of 109,000 people. How do you get on? Because that is a learning experience, setting them up for the next Ashes series. Now, England have said they're not going to pick from without outside of their group. So it'll be down to that original squad to turn up, front up, and perform. And frankly, they've only got one option, and that is to do exactly that: turn up and fight. The irony, and I think, well, certainly I would be, and I imagine a few others, if England go and win the next 2 Test matches, I'm going to almost be angry because it proves. The mentality hasn't been right. And the minute you take the pressure off and it's like, oh, there's nothing to play for. Now we're going to turn up and smack hundreds and take 5 wickets and beat Australia. And I think the real disappointment is the Aussies. Look, they're a really good team. There's no doubt about it. But they aren't amazing. No. And they were missing some of their gun players. This was the opportunity. And I think why people are so frustrated and disappointed is because this was such a huge opportunity for England to win in Australia.
Absolutely, that was the thing. It was the missed opportunity, the wasted opportunity. But Matt, look, we really appreciate it. It was really interesting stuff. Thanks ever so much. Have a great Christmas. All the best.
Cheers, Matt. Bye-bye.
There we are. There's Matt Pryor there, former England wicket-keeper, batsman, the man who won the Ashes out there. Really interesting, wasn't it? But chuck the Lions in. They're not going to do that. Chuck the kids in and see what happens. We're going to talk EFL next, and Dan Fudge is going to join us and host of the new podcast. We've got some of the big stories from the EFL. Somebody else is in the frame. We're going to talk transfers later, Cass, and someone else, it seems, another club has emerged for the signature of Antoine Semenyo. So we'll throw that into the mix with Ben. Another London club, a little bit more. That's coming up after the news headlines.
Alexander Isak's leg break is not as bad as first feared. Arne Slot expects his record signing to be out for just a couple of months, but the Liverpool boss isn't happy with what caused the injury.
This was, for me, a reckless challenge. The tackle of Van der Ven. If you make that tackle 10 times, I think 10 times, there's a serious chance that a player gets a serious injury.
Now, talkSPORT understands clubs only have the first 10 days of the January window to trigger Antoine Semenyo's release clause of between £60 and £65 million. We're told several teams are interested in the Bournemouth man. Newcastle have asked for clarification from the referee's body on the decision not to give them a penalty against Chelsea at the weekend. Anthony Gordon went down under a challenge from Trevor Chalobah in the 2-2 draw at St James's Park.
One of the arts of defending is not to put yourself in that position. I thought, and I still do, it was a clear penalty, having reviewed it. I've not changed my mind. But it wasn't given, and my time is best spent moving forward rather than backwards.
A mid-Ashes holiday enjoyed by England players down under is going to be investigated by the ECB. Some players reportedly drank excessively over 4 days in Noosa and a couple of days in Brisbane beforehand. Following that break, England lost the third test in Adelaide and the Ashes series. But Steve Harmison's told talkSPORT it's not a black and white situation.
If they've gone 60-year bender, bang them against the wall and they get what they deserve. But if they've been caught having a couple of pints in the middle of the afternoon, when the world is ending, I'm not hammering them for this.
Good afternoon, Paul Hawksbee and Tony Cascarino with you through until 4 o'clock. Just for a moment, just
for a moment.
Just for a moment. I'm looking at you, but Cass is with us today, and we've got plenty more to cover. We're going to be looking at tonight's game live on talkSPORT from an Arsenal point of view with Harry Symeou. We've got to look at some of the transfer. I'll tell you. Apparently, Chelsea are in the mix suddenly for Semenyo as well.
Yeah,
and we'll get the strength of that with Ben.
He can play right side or left side. I mean, they've got Neto and they've got Garnacho as well, and a few others. So it'd be pretty amazing if Chelsea got that one over the line.
We'll ask Ben later.
Yeah.
Because there's one game on Boxing Day evening, which has been pretty contentious, there is, as always, a full programme in the EFL and beyond in National League, which is a great shop window for a chance for people who want to get out and see a game of football. They go and support their local EFL or National League side. We have a fine podcast here, the EFL Network podcast, and Dan Fudge is a host, and he's joined us. Hello, Dan.
That's a good job. You all right? Nice to see you all again.
Good to see you. You do kind of sense that people will go out. They'll still want to take in a game. They won't have the opportunity maybe to see the Premier League side they support, but they think, well, let's just get down and watch a bit of football today. Get the cobwebs off after Christmas Day.
Yeah, it's like that. The international weekend, when everybody goes to watch the National League teams and the lower league teams. It's got an element of that. It's kind of nice. I kind of like it. In an environment where a lot of big clubs are complaining about, fixture congestion and things like that, and everywhere else across Europe they have Christmas off.
Yeah,
and we seem to ramp ours up. It's kind of nice. I kind of like it. It might get some more bums on seats at Hillsborough for the first time in 10 years that we seem to have had.
Well, maybe to offset that. What is the feeling amongst your fellow Wednesday fans about the possible takeover with Mike Ashley?
I don't want to be too scathing. On our show on talkSPORT 2 tomorrow, we're talking to a Newcastle fan to talk about the pros and cons of Mike Ashley. For a club the size of Newcastle with a fan base that Newcastle have got, Mike Ashley got them somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a lot like the way people talk about Arteta in the last 6 years, taking them from X to Y. And I feel like that's what Ashley did with Newcastle, and now they've moved on. There's an element of, if Mike Ashley comes into Sheffield Wednesday, it would eradicate a lot of the issues that the previous chairman has left.
Yeah. It doesn't it feel a bit out of the frying pan into the fire? I mean, you've gone through a situation where you were kind of at war with an owner that you didn't want, you wanted out, and that's exactly the scenario that ultimately the Newcastle fans had.
Yeah, there is an element of that, but there's also a feeling where a lot of rumours happen and circulate when you're in a situation such as this. So, for example, somebody will start scrolling online and they'll go, "Oh, John Textor's probably going to get involved, and this multi-billionaire franchise owner this," and then we've now got people commenting on rumours, and they're part of it, and they're part of it, and someone's coming to kick the tyres so they don't buy a lemon, and then as the process goes on, it's two lemons welded together by the end of it. You know what I mean?
Well, let's hope they do get a good owner, because you've gone through it as a fan base.
Yeah, they have, haven't they? And a terrific football club can get a big support, and also the Battle of Sheffield, isn't it, with United and between the two of them. So it's for the Steel City, it's great if both clubs could have decent seasons, because it's a city for me that just lives and breathes football, because I've been up to Sheffield a good few times, more to see United than Wednesday, but I just feel like this is a proper city of football.
Yeah, to have two well-supported clubs like we have is very impressive. And I didn't realise when I was a young boy coming up and going to the games that I realised how spoilt I was in terms of looking around and these noises. There was somebody complaining online that only 19,000 turned up at the last game at Hillsborough. I'm thinking there are clubs in the Championship and even bottom and Premier League that would snap your hand off for 19,000. But apparently, according to this guy, we're all fickle and we're all the worst people that's ever happened.
Away from that, we've had a managerial casualty, haven't we? We spoke to three. The EFL put up some managers to chat to at the big start of the season, and which we enjoyed the chat. All three of those managers have gone now. Now Gary Rowett has gone. It's quite staggering, isn't it? The turnover. But he's no longer at Oxford, is he?
That one seems really odd to me. I don't know about you, chaps, but I don't want to say it's come out of nowhere. They are just in the relegation spots, the 2 points from safety, with Portsmouth above them, but. This is Oxford, and the championship is a great level for a club like Oxford. It's really impressive. Yeah. Gary Rowett knows what he's doing. He's a established EFL manager. I think to pull the trigger this early either suggests, one, that they've got it wrong, or two, that they've already got somebody over the pocket, as it were. Which I feel Gary Rowett deserves better, if I'm honest.
Were the fans on his case a bit, Dan? Or just they've
only won 1 in 10. Yeah. But Oxford fans were very aware of where they sit in the pyramid. They know that they're. I don't want to be as facetious as to say punching above their weight, but they're very much. They know they're a decent ceiling for themselves, and they need somebody to take them forward. And I thought Gary Rowett would be that guy.
It's amazing, the Championship, because it's such a test for managers, and not only the players, but you get teams like Leicester won comfortably in a couple of games. One at Derby, played really well. One at Ipswich, they beat Ipswich quite comfortably. Then they get obviously really hammered at the weekend, gone. And that to me is the Championship.
Yeah.
In a nutshell, or nutcase more like, it's such a tough league. One team I did want to mention, Dan, was QPR, playing two up front and going with two wingers. And it's like, oh, I like that.
Do you know what?
Refreshing.
We were talking we were talking a lot on this station, weren't we, about long throws coming back, and now 4-4-2's creeping back in.
That's it.
And I'm here.
Well, they were the ones who beat Leicester 4-1, weren't they?
Yeah, so, absolutely. Absolutely. They were 3-0 down after half an hour.
Wasn't it 4-0 at half time?
Something like that. Yeah. It was absolutely incredible. And they've got the short guy and the big guy. You know what I mean? They've got the wingers hitting the byline and crossing across. I'm a big fan of that. I love that it's coming back. We'll have none of this number 10 nonsense that we've been talking about the last few years, because when we were growing up, number 10 meant the big donkey striker, You know, what number did you play, Cass? I don't want to be disrespectful.
Number 9, mate.
All right, that's better then. That's all right then. I didn't want to talk out of turn.
Yeah. It's but it's refreshing to see.
Oh yeah.
Someone's absolutely, QPR attempting to, and they've had a good few results and scored a lot of goals.
Yeah, they have. Yeah,
they would have loved that, wouldn't they, against the manager who left them. And to have cuffed Leicester like that, they would have really enjoyed the moment, wouldn't they? So, it's tomorrow evening on talkSPORT 2. Is that right? You've got a special show, 5 p.m.
Yeah, 5 p.m. We're talking to a Newcastle fan to try and educate me a little bit on Mike Ashley's influence on what he does. We've got Hull City, who were widely tipped for relegation at the start of the season, and they're going great guns, sat comfortably in the playoffs. And then we speak to Barnsley and Mansfield, and Barnsley, I feel like have got potential to go up, but they just seem to be having a bit of a stuttered season so far. And then you look down at League Two, and you've got Cass's neighbours in Bromley knocking the door on Swindon and Walsall at the top of League Two as well. So it's all go. It's all go.
It's good stuff. So EFL Fan Network special talkSPORT 2 tomorrow at 5 p.m. Also available on the talkSPORT app and wherever you get your podcast. Dan, good to see you. Thanks for popping in.
My pleasure.
There we are. Dan Fudge there from the EFL Network podcast. Harry Symeou joins us to talk a bit of Arsenal next. We're also going to chat about those comments from Arne Slot about the tackle by Mickey van der Ven that has injured Alexander Isak, and we'll get Cassie's thoughts on that. Shortly, we're here with Tool Station. Get winter ready with heating and insulation essentials. Next stop, Tool Station. Just before we talk Arsenal, Harry Symeou, cracking game going on at Alexander Palace in the darts. Let's get updated from Ian Danta.
Yeah, it's another deciding set that we're into here, Paul. Daryl Gurney, the number 22 seed and World Cup winner with Northern Ireland, went a set down to Callan Rydz, the Riot from Newcastle, but then posted a 110 average in set 2 and then got himself 2 sets to 1 up. But Rydz fought back with another 167 checkout, his second of the match, to level things at 2-2. It's going with throw in the final set. Rydz has just pinned double 15 for it go 2-2 in sets, 2-2 in legs. So now, whoever wins this has got to win by 2 clear legs unless we get to 5-all, and then it'll be sudden death. You can listen to all the action unfold on this cracker over on talkSPORT 2, on the talkSPORT Darts YouTube channel, or via the talkSPORT app.
PDC World Darts Championship update on talkSPORT with Village Hotels. Hit the bullseye this New Year's Eve. Party at one of our New Year's Eve events. 34 locations across the UK. Find out more at villagehotels.com.
Paul Hawksbee and Tony Cascarino here on talkSPORT. Just before we chat to Harry Symeou about Arsenal at Palace tonight, we heard Arne Slot say earlier on that he felt that the tackle by Mickey van der Ven that has ultimately injured Alexander Isak as he scored at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium was a bad one. It's just that situation where that tackle anywhere else on the pitch, if he's passing the ball, they probably look at it again. There is a bit of a scissor aspect to it. I don't think it's deliberate. I think it's an honest attempt of a footballer trying to stop another player scoring a goal. Rarely when a player's in the act of scoring do they go back and look at it, or do they view it in the same way. That's just a fact of life. I don't think it was malicious, but, we know these days tackles don't have to be malicious, do they, to get you a red card?
No, and it's one of them tackles, Paul, because you're a defender and you've got to get to it very quickly to stop Isak getting a shot.
And he almost
you're
does.
going to launch yourself.
He almost does.
And I thought at the time it wasn't the greatest challenge, but you're going to want your defenders to try and defend in that situation. He's not going to. He can't allow Isak to. I mean, he scores anyway.
Sure,
but he's going to probably score easier if you don't get to him as quick as you can. So it's an unfortunate incident, and
the consequences of it are obviously worse.
Yeah.
And you can understand Arne Slot. He just gets the guy starting to fire a bit and starting to play a bit, and he's going to be out for 2 months at least.
Well, at least, you probably won't see him till mid to end of Feb. Look, hopefully he can come back and up and running pretty quickly.
Yeah. Well, let's move to Arsenal then. Arsenal take on Palace. We had a chat with Elliot Steele earlier on, and we expect a bit of a mix and match Palace. And Elliot was saying you probably expect the same of Arsenal tonight. Well, we know Gabriel Jesus is probably going to start, and Waneri and Miles Lewis-Skelly will get some game time. Let's have a chat now with Arsenal fan and blogger Harry Symeou. Hi, Harry.
How you doing, guys? You all right?
Hi, Harry.
Not so bad. I mean, I suppose... Look, there was a big piece, I think, in today's Times or Telegraph sort of talking about Nwaneri and Lewis-Skelly not getting the game time that they would ideally like. But, there's a real competition for places, but nights like tonight do give them an opportunity. Do you expect them both to start or not?
I'm pretty confident that Miles Lewis-Skelly will start. I'm not sure that Ethan Nwaneri will get the nod, though. It feels like he's the one lately that's missed out maybe a little bit more than he should have. He's the one that you're looking at and you're starting to worry a little bit about. Not in terms of, is he good enough and will he develop? I think we've seen enough as Arsenal fans to know that he's a really talented boy. But the question is he going to be happy playing this sort of very minimalistic role at the moment? And that's the big question. I think with Eza there and having not started at the weekend, and then you look at sort of Odegaard being back in the picture as well. I think Nwaneri, who played a lot last season from that right-hand side, has been moved into a more central role, which feels a bit more natural for him. But he's got a little bit lost in the competition. So, look, I thought he would have played more during Odegaard's absence than he actually did. So can I sit here hand on heart today and say that I think he's going to start? I don't think he will start. Will he play a part? Probably, but I think he'll be a little bit frustrated with the fact that game time's been very difficult to come by for him this season.
Harry, what about down the middle, the centre-forward position? Are you expecting Gyökeres to continue and needing another game, or would you see Gabriel Jesus coming in? What's your suspicion?
My suspicion is that Gabriel Jesus will get the nod. I think, he's been building himself back up to a level where he can, play more and feature more over the last few weeks now. If you go back to this fixture, it was the same quarterfinal last season at the Emirates Stadium. Gabby Jesus scored a hat-trick in that game, and he had a really great period around that time, just before, of course, he picked up that latest knee injury. I think he's ready. I think he's raring to go. I think Victor Gyökeres, I think he's struggled, if I'm being honest. And I know not a lot of Arsenal fans agree. There's a lot of people out there that will say that it's to do with the service and it's to do with this and to do with that and him getting up to speed. I haven't been that impressed by Victor Gyökeres overall. And so I don't think there's any reason for Mikel Arteta to overlook the opportunity to hand Gabby Jesus a first start back in the team. I think when he's featured in recent weeks, he's tied play together really well, really nicely. He's not the out-and-out number 9 that Victor Gyökeres is, but I think we've maybe learned over the course of this season so far that Arsenal are just as good a side with a false 9. And maybe all this talk in the summer about needing a 9 to get us over the line was just a little bit overblown. I feel like we need one within our ranks and within our options, but does that need to be the go-to way that Arsenal play every week? I'm not sure it needs to be.
What have you made of Gyökeres, Kaz?
I think he's done okay. Look, there's always over a big fee. The expectation is always a lot higher, and he's on the number of goals he scored in Portugal, and not only just in Portugal, but in the Champions League as well for Sporting. So. It's a tough one. I'd like to have thought that as the season progressed, he would get gradually better. And I hope that's still the case for him, because there is a player in there that does offer a lot to the way Arsenal can be set up. He can drag players out of position, centre-halves, he can battle. Being okay, and you've, spent 60-odd million for a player, it never fits well.
No. I suppose he's got time to develop. Harry, finally... is this a kind of nice diversion tonight from a couple of pretty nervy league performances and Villa and City breathing down your neck? How do you feel about the Carabao Cup?
Yeah, I think when you're in Mikel Arteta's position where there's just so much demand to come home with silverware, I think you've got to be up for these types of games. There's an opportunity to move into the semi-finals. It won't be an easy semi-final should Arsenal make it against Chelsea over 2 legs. But I think, people keep asking the question, can Arsenal get over the line? I think if they show everybody that they can get over the line in this competition, which in terms of the calendar just finishes that little bit earlier, I think that might just give them that extra edge that they need come the running when it comes to the Premier League and the Champions League as well. So I think Mikel Arteta knows that. I think he sees this as a real opportunity. And I actually think he's going to make less changes than maybe some people are anticipating and predicting tonight, because he needs silverware. He's desperate to get his hands on some, and he'll see this as a big chance.
Good stuff. Enjoy the game, Harry. Thanks very much.
Cheers, Harry.
Cheers, guys.
Harry Symeou there, Arsenal fan, broadcaster and blogger. And that game is live on talkSPORT tonight. Adrian Durham will be at the Emirates. Jim Proudfoot and Scott Minto are your commentary team for Arsenal Palace in the Carabao Cup quarter-final. More from Cass in the next hour. We're going to be chatting to Ben Jacobs, looking at some of the transfer stories. Marmoush for Spurs and possibly Chelsea coming into the mix for Antoine Semenyo in the last hour or so. That has emerged. We're here from the Gaffers, head of the games over the Christmas period. We've had 12 press conferences today, and some interesting stuff has emerged from those chats, and we'll look at a bit of a state of play around some of those teams. And Raul Jimenez last night matched Yaya Touré's record of successful penalties in the Premier League. We'll go through some of Cassie's penalty history, see if he was a dead-eyed dick like Jimenez was. Well, we know he did it in the 1990 World Cup, but we'll move on from that. We'll be chatting to Cass a bit more about that very shortly, but we'll get these sports headlines next.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van range. Scoring a winning hat-trick of performance, payload and price. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
A very good afternoon. It is 2 minutes past 3 with your sports headlines. I'm Amelia Beltrao. After hearing clubs only have the first 10 days of the January transfer window to trigger Antoine Semenyo's release clause of between 60 and 65 million, talkSPORT understands one London club is particularly keen on him. Here's talkSPORT's Alex Crook.
We're now told that Chelsea have held initial talks with Semenyo's advisors to work out how a deal could look for them. Arsenal, though, not one of the clubs planning on making a move.
The other big hitters wanting to bag the Bournemouth player include City, United and Liverpool. Elsewhere, Arne Slot's confirmed that Alexander Isak is set for a couple of months on the sidelines with a broken leg. The Liverpool boss also described the challenge from Mickey van der Ven in Liverpool's win at Tottenham as reckless. Well, Simon Jordan reckons there's some poor decision-making going on at Spurs at the moment.
Especially at home, and seeing Pedro Porro wagging his finger at fans, telling them how they will and won't behave and how they will and won't tolerate it, which was absolute nonsense.
Now, Newcastle are calling for clarification from the referee's body on the decision not to award them a penalty against Chelsea. Anthony Gordon went down after a challenge from Trevor Chalobah during their draw on Saturday. And the ECB is establishing the facts after a social media video appears to show a drunken Ben Duckett slurring his words. It's after England managing director Rob Key promised to investigate the drinking habits of the England team following reports their mid-Ashes beach break resembled a stag do. Steve Harmson has told talkSPORT players should be allowed time away from cricket within reason.
Sometimes when you get a 4-day break, you should be allowed to look after yourself in that way. I'm not condoning what they've done. If they've been drinking, if they've gone 6-day bender, bang them against the wall and they get what they deserve.
There's more at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
The government have made a huge U-turn on inheritance tax for farmers, and tens of thousands more files relating to Jeffrey Epstein have been released. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Come rain or shine, we've got your electric car covered with 400 EV-ready centres, so you can drive away happy every time.
We're expecting a cloudy afternoon for most parts of the UK, with light rain for some of us. Brief brightness is possible, though, in the west.
Good afternoon, Paul Hawksbee and Tony Cascarino with you through until 4 here on talkSPORT. Ben Jacobs joining us for a transfer chat. We're going to bring you the best of the managerial press conferences. 12 managers have been chatting today, and we'll bring you some of the highlights from those chats and look at the situations around the clubs.
Do you think they get sick of press conferences?
Well, they must do, yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of games, so there's a lot of press conferences before and obviously after games. And they must be thinking, not again.
Yeah.
What
I mean, especially with the amount of games. I mean, Oliver Glasner's in one about every 5 minutes, isn't he? probably not worth going home. What were you like with them? They have the mix zone now, Cass, that players
I know.
And they have that choice. But I mean, in your day, were you one of those?
You felt blessed. If you got asked to come in and speak, you would felt like, yeah,
really?
I'd love to. I hope you've been called up. I mean, now it feels like complete opposite. Players are like, oh, do I have to go? Because they say far less than we did, we sort of wore our heart on our sleeve and sort of said exactly how it was. And I think players are far more guarded in the modern game, and rightly so, because of social media and other things that, things you might say get blown out of proportion. Matt Doherty would have found out in the last week what he said in the paper.
Yeah.
Might have.
I mean, it was obviously heartfelt that. He's someone
I get it.
He cares for the club, and maybe there are a few things and he can't be specific about it, but as you said, it does become a much bigger deal, doesn't it?
Yeah, and when you're losing games and you're losing them so often, you feel like as a player, he's been a senior player, so he's been Wolves twice now, and he's been there and played a lot of games for the football club, and he's probably speaking with the heart of a fan more than just the player.
Absolutely. Yeah. So a little bit of news around Tottenham's backroom staff. It's just been confirmed by Colorado Rapids that Matt Wells, the Spurs coach has joined them as their head coach. It's not unexpected. He wasn't on the bench the other day, but really highly regarded at Spurs is Matt, and and he's gone off to the States for his first sort of proper managerial role. So you wish him well, but it's a bloke, Thomas Frank, who was somebody he was very keen to work with at the club when he took over, and that on top of the fact that it looks like Fabio Paratici is off to Fiorentina to kind of oversee things there. So to lose, just as the window's opening, to lose one of your sporting directors, especially one who had been pretty active in January and was well connected, could get a deal over the line. I mean, I don't know if he's going to do it after this window or if he's just going to go and do all the business that he was going to do for Spurs for Fiorentina, although they are working in different areas, aren't they?
How do you feel as a fan, Paul, of the football club when you see people in certain roles leaving the football club?
Yeah, it's not a good look. No. I can understand Matt Wells. It's a senior role.
It's an opportunity.
Yeah, so I can understand if he wants to do his own thing. The Paratici thing, it was only like a month, 6 weeks ago, they were lauding the fact that him and Johan Langer were this twin threat. Two fantastic. One Mr. Analytics and the other one Mr. Old School Agent, knows everybody, contacts list as long as your arms. And it looks as if increasingly that he is going. So, I mean, Thomas Frank maybe could do a little bit more assistance along the way.
Yeah, it feels like he needs a lot of help. I'm not the biggest fan of the Spurs players. I think they've got a lot of issues. I feel like there's players at Spurs who think they're doing Spurs a favour playing for them. I have that attitude stands out for me. I think the club is in an incredible position to be
everything's
successful.
In place.
How can you get it from last season so wrong to this season and seeing a club below mid-table as you stand today?
Yeah.
Now, all of last season, you were basically mid-table and below all season, weren't you?
Yeah. I mean, look, we were talking about this off air, and Indrik Kulusevski and Solanke and Madison have had an impact, but they're going to have a big January, and it may have been easier to do that with the two sporting directors that we were told were in place. But anyway, we'll see what happens with that. Raul Jimenez scored another pen. It wasn't a great game, Cass, was it really?
No.
Wasn't a thriller. And strangely...
needed win for Fulham. Absolutely needed.
That's right. He's equalled the record set by Yaya Toure for 11 pens. What was you? I mean, you famously took one in 1990 against Romania at Italia 90, of course, and the great big divot. I seem to remember you kicked half the pitch up in the air, still being sued by the
Andy Townsend too much.
Sued by the groundsman.
It was a great strike, and there was a bit of mud that came up in the air, but it wasn't like a golf divot.
It hit the goalkeeper in the eye. That's how you scored it. The big bit of mud.
I actually took my first game for Marseille when I joined. I literally picked up the ball and took the penalty, a bit like Jokeres did the other day.
Yeah, it's a great way to get the. Did you have in your mind? So this will get the fans on.
I knew it. Look, forwards need to get goals, and you need to get them quick.
Yeah.
Okay, it's like goalkeepers need to make saves because the first save, if you get beaten easily. So I was very conscious. If we got a penalty, and I was brought in as a centre forward, I just grabbed it, and then I took for all my 6 years in France, I took penalties for Marseille and Nancy.
Yeah,
and had a really good record.
Okay,
not to the level of Jimenez, but
what was your technique? Hit them hard?
No, low and hard all the time, and not necessarily pick one corner. But once I've made my mind up, I'd get there on the penalty spot. And I had a really big one against PSG away with Nancy. We were fighting relegation, and I'd had a really good season, and we got a penalty, and we needed to win. And I remember feeling the pressure. It's probably the second most pressure I've ever had taking a penalty. And I just pinged it and it flew in and the keeper had no chance. Unfortunately for us, PSG scored in the last kick of the game. And got a 1-1 draw. It didn't relegate us, but that win would have probably kept us up. So I grew in confidence with penalties as I went along the way. Just found myself more confident of knowing what I wanted to do. And just try to implement that because you can get confused. I jokingly said once, taking a penalty in the World Cup, Paul, I said it's like I've never walked the plank, but it felt like I was walking a plank.
Yeah, walking from that halfway line.
It took forever.
Yeah.
And looking at because you cross the player as well. The player before you in a penalty shootout, you see them on the way as you're going to the penalty, you cross. And it's literally, they look at their eyes and you're thinking they're looking at you and you're looking at them and you're...
Had the Romanian lad who took one before you scored?
No, I was on our fourth penalty.
Right.
And everyone had scored up until that point. So I knew if I missed, the guy could be going into on the next one. They nearly putting it. They're gonna make it. They're gonna get over the line. Luckily, I scored, and the guy before David O'Leary missed, and then David O'Leary got the winner.
Yeah.
So it was incredible because there is a daft story. I'm sure you've heard it before that when I'm sitting in the circle, we didn't have any, and we didn't have 5 penalty takers because Aldridge was already taken off and a couple of others that would have took them. And I wasn't on penalties, and Ray Houghton was walking around. He was one of the penalty takers, and he had Kevin Sheedy and Andy Townsend. He was looking for 2 more, and then David, and he looks at me and says, "Are you going to take one? You're going to have to take one." And I went sort of stuttered, and he went, "Are you a man or a mouse?" And Andy Townsend shouted, "Pass the cheese." And we're in the centre circle as it happened. It was
so Jack didn't get involved in that then?
No, he said he turned round and he didn't want to look. One of his lines was, "You got us into this mess. Now you get us out of it." Of a penalty shootout was Jack.
Wow,
yeah. So, but incredible experience.
Yeah.
But penalties. If you look at the actual numbers, Paul, look. Of course, the striker or the player who's going to take the penalty has an advantage.
Yeah.
It's nowhere near as big as people think.
No.
It's not like 1 in 5 are saved. The ratio is better than that.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to come on to transfers in a minute. Can I ask you about a couple of players? What we said earlier on, you're a Liverpool fan, and I've seen 1 or 2 people suggest this could be Chiesa's moment, a chance to get a bit more game time. And
yeah.
We saw last year that this was a bloke coming back from a pretty serious injury, but he has, for what they paid him, 6-7 million quid, he's had some good moments. Would you trust him over a long sort of spell if they didn't bring anybody in January to pick up the slack?
We go back to Euro 21 sort of, because it was delayed, wasn't it, for the
before
pandemic.
He got that injury.
He was fantastic, and I was delighted we signed him because he was on a free. Didn't really play enough football.
Was it a free in him? Was it? Oh, right. Wow,
I think it was a free. Well, they might have paid 7 million, or something, but it wasn't a lot.
It was cheap.
It was very, very cheap for a player of his age and his quality. So they spent relatively very little money on him. And he didn't play a lot last year, but then he wasn't really needed.
No.
This year he's needed.
Yeah.
And he's needed more than ever because obviously with the injuries to certain players at Liverpool and Salah's away, Chiesa's his time. And Liverpool fans do have a lot of affection for him because they see not only a technical, gifted player, but a real trier.
Yeah, he puts
the one he cleared off the line.
Yeah.
Do you remember when he gets run, keeps going back and running off?
That wasn't that Semenyo? Was that Semenyo? That was against Bournemouth.
I can't remember who it was against, but he just kept going and going and going and really saved the day in that moment. And Liverpool fans have been. He sort of he inspires people when he's on the pitch.
Was it something? It might have been Sunderland.
It might have been.
Yeah. They're coming thick and fast. Like Oliver Glasner. Can't keep up.
That's the other thing. I can't remember which game it was, but I just remember that moment of him sort of, him being embraced in that moment for actually not stopping. Just keep going and you might get there, and he did.
It'll be interesting to see if he gets some game time. Anyway, we're going to be chatting transfers next with Ben Jacobs. But before that, talkSPORT is already looking ahead to an exciting 2026, and we're giving you the chance to win a massive £26,000. What better way to kick off 2026 than with some serious cash? Yep, 26 grand. It's our biggest New Year cash giveaway, and it could be yours. It's 26k for 2026. Here's how to enter for your chance to win. Text WIN to 83338. That's 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate, or call 0343 423 9761. Lines close 12 p.m. the 9th of January 2026. That's when you need to answer your phone if it rings. UK residents only, 18 plus. This is a network promotion. For T's and C's at talksport.com/win. So for your chance to win, text WIN to 83338 now. And good luck. Coming up next, all the transfer stories with Ben Jacobs. We're here as always with Toolstation. Stay one step ahead, whatever the job. Next stop, Toolstation. Hawksbee and Tony Cascarino here on talkSPORT at 4. Adi Oladipo and Gabby Agbonlahor will bring you Drive Then Live football from 7 with Arsenal Palace and the Sports Bar taking your calls. Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy at 10 after that match. We'll hear from some of the gaffers after 3:30. They've all been chatting to the press today. A mighty 12 press conferences, a very busy day, so they can all have a proper Christmas break. But let's look at some of the transfer stories of the day. One is certainly livened up in the last hour when it has emerged that another club is in the frame for Antoine Semenyo. Ben Jacobs is keeping an eye on this for us. Hi, Ben.
Hi, Ben. Guys.
Yeah, so Chelsea had not really been mentioned, but here we are. They're suddenly in the mix with a number of other clubs. Tell us more.
Yeah, on Monday, Chelsea made an initial inquiry for Antoine Semenyo, and that means that all of the big six clubs have actually had some contact, although Arsenal are kind of ruling themselves out in the winter market. And Chelsea's position is clear that if they move, it's bringing forward summer business. We'll now have to understand whether or not they trigger the release clause. Both held meetings in the last 24, 48 hours. For Semenyo, he's expected to stay within the Premier League. The clause is 65 million, and my understanding is that it can be paid in 3 instalments. And now from Chelsea's point of view, they have to decide, is he the kind of attacker they need? Because the left is well stocked. Jamie Gittins, Alejandro Garnacho, technically Mikhailo Mudryk, Tyreek George and Giovanni Quenda arriving from Sporting in the summer. On the right-hand side, only really Pedro Neto. So if Esteval Willian is a 10, then maybe they feel there's room for Antoine Semenyo. But it is a surprise, and now we have to wait and see whether Chelsea's initial inquiry leads to anything more substantial.
What about the Egyptian Omar Marmoush? Yeah. Tottenham are reportedly having interest in him, the 26-year-old. Hasn't really got going at Manchester City, has he? So is that a possibility, that move, do you think?
As far as I'm aware at the moment, yes, Tottenham are looking at a new number 9 in 2026, not necessarily in January. No reason at this stage to believe that Omar Marmoush is that leading name. There could maybe more be a scenario in the summer where Ivan Toney, who won't leave Saudi Arabia mid-season, could come into Tottenham's thinking if he decides to leave Saudi Arabia at the end of the season. I think Manchester City feel that Omar Marmoush will continue to grow in the Premier League. My information is that they don't want to sell, and they believe that he fulfills 2 roles. 1, the kind of old Kevin De Bruyne position, and 2, cover/competition for Erling Haaland. Are more likely, if we're talking about Tottenham and Man City business, is still Savinho. And if a situation arises where Antoine Semenyo picks the blue half of Manchester, keep an eye on Tottenham making a fresh approach for Savinho. But I'm told it's all quiet at the moment between Spurs, Manchester City and Omar Marmoush.
We were talking about Mo Salah a little bit earlier on. It seemed unlikely he was now going to go in January with AFCON in full flow and him sort of scoring last night, getting the winner. Where are we at with that at the moment? Do you think because of the injury to Isak, it's less likely he's going to go?
Yeah, we've heard some suggestion that Harvey Elliott might be recalled from Aston Villa, although there's no formal clause there. And of course, that Liverpool could enter the race as well for Antoine Semenyo. They certainly held some substantial talks in November, but they haven't been that active since. So Alexander Isak's injury is likely going to change things. And I think Liverpool will say plan 1 is an internal solution of Salah comes back and plays, and then they reassess his future in the summer. And of course, plan 2, and they can do both plans, is that you go out in the market and you add another attacker. But at the moment, I'm led to believe that Liverpool want and expect Mo Salah to stay through the winter market, and they're hoping that AFCON kind of clears the air. And that might partially, with Szoboszlai also able to play on the right-hand side, be why Liverpool have been a bit hesitant to pull the trigger on Antoine Semenyo. Because if he arrives in January, you would think Mo Salah arrives back from AFCON thinking he may get even less game time if Semenyo was used on the right-hand side. So Liverpool have got some big decisions to make. But at the moment, I'm led to believe after Isak's injury, it's now looking far less likely that Salah leaves mid-season, because even if he found, for an example, a Saudi club, I think Liverpool would likely block any move mid-season.
Another Saudi club, Ruben Neves, has declined a new contract. Al Hilal and Manchester United are believed to be interested.
Yeah, Newcastle and potentially sort of some Real Madrid have been showing an interest as well, Ben.
Yeah, it's actually Juventus as the club outside of England that I'm told have had the most concrete approach. Real Madrid have discussed Neves internally, but they've not made any contact with Al Hilal or the camp of Ruben Neves. Manchester United have discussed Neves internally, and then you have several other clubs, for example, Bayern Munich and Newcastle, that have held a historical interest in Neves, but we're talking about when he was at Wolves rather than right now. And Neves wants to play Champions League football. It doesn't have to be this season, but he wants to join a project that can give him that. And because of his age at 28, he feels that now might be the right time to leave Saudi Arabia. But when we say now, it's not a given it will be January. It could be as a free agent in the summer. And Al Hilal are hoping that contract ticks down and they can change his mind and somehow persuade him to sign a new deal between now and when the World Cup starts. But Neves at the moment is exploring options. If Al Hilal were to sell in January, they would want a fee, I'm told, in excess of 15 million, which is still quite high because he's got less than 6 months by the time the window opens left on his contract. And yes, if Manchester United choose to add a midfielder in January, Neves and also Conor Gallagher could be two to watch. But if they wait, then, of course, we're talking about Elliot Anderson, Carlos Baleba, Adam Wharton, Angelo Stiller. And I think at the end of all of this, whether it's January or the summer, Manchester United's priority is clear. They want two new elite midfielders, one that's a defined number 6 and one that is more box-to-box.
And just finally, Scotland Rangers have made a move, it seems, for Josh Windass at Wrexham. He had a couple of good years there back in the day, didn't he?
Yeah, this was an exclusive that we broke this morning. So Josh Windass only joined Wrexham, remember, from Sheffield Wednesday, ultimately as a free agent after his contract was terminated. And that was in the summer. He scored 6 goals in the Championship. But my understanding is that Windass is actually open to a move away. And Rangers have made an initial inquiry for a loan. This is, of course, driven by Danny Roll, who managed Windass for 2 seasons at Sheffield Wednesday. And Windass is on record as saying tactically, Roll is the best manager that he's ever worked with. Rangers could, of course, offer the likelihood, long run, of season-on-season European football, whereas Wrexham at the moment, 15th in the Championship, maybe not going to get another back-to-back promotion. So I think given Windass's age, he would consider a return to Rangers. The hard part is convincing Wrexham to sanction a mid-season exit, because he's been important in terms of his goals so far for the Welsh club this season.
Ben, thanks as always. We'll catch up with you soon.
Cheers, Ben.
Cheers, guys.
There we are. There's Ben Jacobs with the very latest from the transfer market. It's all unfolding at talksport.com. We've got the old transfer ticker, and that will be going like the clappers until the window closes. So, were you ever a January move, Cass?
No, I went in March.
Yeah.
And when I was saying that, I left Marseille in December, but because there was the break.
Yeah. Well, we'll come on to that. We're going to talk about winter breaks, because you had sort of different periods of your career where you played all over Christmas, and we're going to be chatting about that.
Yeah.
And then in France, of course, you came home to watch football.
Yes. 6 years of watching football.
Yeah. Anyway, Tony Cascarino's with us. We're going to hear from all the managers very, very shortly as we build up to the Premier League games over Christmas. They've been having their say this afternoon. They've kind of got it out the way today so they can go and enjoy a couple of days with their families. So that's all coming up. And then we'll hand over to Adi Oladipo and Gabby Agbon-Lahore, who will bring you Drive. But we'll get the news headlines next.
No, yeah.
Alexander Isak's leg break is not as bad as first feared. Arne Slot expects his record signing to be out for just a couple of months, but the Liverpool boss isn't happy with what caused the injury.
This was, for me, a reckless challenge. The tackle of Van der Ven. If you make that tackle 10 times, I think 10 times, there's a serious chance that a player gets a serious injury.
Now, talkSPORT understands clubs only have the first 10 days of the January window to trigger Antoine Semenyo's release clause of between 60 and 65 million pounds. We're told several teams are interested in the Bournemouth man. Newcastle have asked for clarification from the referee's body on the decision not to give them a penalty against Chelsea at the weekend. Anthony Gordon went down under a challenge from Trevor Chalobah in the 2-2 draw at St James's Park.
One of the arts of defending is not to put yourself in that position. I thought, and I still do, it was a clear penalty, having reviewed it. I've not changed my mind. But it wasn't given, and my time is best spent moving forward rather than backwards.
A mid-Ashes holiday enjoyed by England players down under is going to be investigated by the ECB. Some players reportedly drank excessively over 4 days in Noosa and a couple of days in Brisbane beforehand. Following that break, England lost the third test in Adelaide and the Ashes series. But Steve Harmison's told talkSPORT it's not a black and white situation.
If they've gone 60-year bender, bang them against the wall and they get what they deserve. But if they've been caught having a couple of pints in the middle of the afternoon, when the world is ending, I'm not hammering them for this.
Hawksbee, Tony Cascarino. Just before we hear from the managers this afternoon, we'll be going back to the darts, getting you an update shortly. We were saying there, Tony, that you obviously played a lot over Christmas. Did you enjoy playing over Christmas as a player?
Yeah, I did. But then once I had the experience of being abroad and coming back and having a break.
When would you pack up in France then?
We would be the week before Christmas, so about the 19th, 18th of December, and the first game back would be the Coupe de France game.
Right.
So and a lot of the first team players didn't play in that game because it'd be against the amateur teams because it would be the first round. So that would be around the January 5th, 6th, 7th. But we'd normally go to Marrakesh in Morocco and have a sort of 8-9
warm
day
weather training.
Yeah, well, it'd always be 22, 23 degrees at that time.
So how long would you get off from that 19th?
A week.
Okay.
A week actually off. Yeah. And I would come back to England and I was allowed 1 kilo.
Right, okay.
I couldn't, if you come back over 1 kilo
Well,
more.
Pep was talking about this. We were chatting to Matt Hughes, a kind of nutrition expert these days. Mark Pugh, sorry. But he was, I think Pep he said if they come back 3 kilos overweight, but Mark made the point that it takes a lot to be 3 kilos overweight in about 2
You're
or 3
talking
days.
6 pound, aren't you?
Yeah.
6 and a bit pound. I mean, one of my worst experience, Paul, I played on the last game. Nancy were playing at home, and I was going to Saint Martin the next day.
Yeah.
And 1 minute to go, I've done a diving header, and I've caught the elbow of a player, broke my nose, literally in hospital, couldn't travel, wasn't allowed to fly, had all the mesh up my nose, had it reset, and my Christmas was coming home, and I met my mate's missus. She said, "What's happened to you? You've been beaten up by,
Oh no!
I literally had me, and I lost 2 teeth as well in that moment. 1 minute to go in the game,
just before Christmas.
Just before Christmas,
you can see. I mean, there's been certain players that I did actually shout at Christian Romero that if he hurried up, he might make that 10 o'clock flight to Buenos Aires. I was slightly. There have been players. There are players.
Yeah, there's a few.
Well, I think Troy Deeney wrote a piece about it in the Sun the other day. Yeah, there's always someone in a dressing room who likes to get that really cheap second booking.
Yeah.
So I can't play boxing though. What? That's terrible.
Yeah.
Then don't you you must make them come in and train on their own, or make them travel with a team, don't you?
Yeah. Well, yeah. You got to do. You can't let them get away with it. And if you do suspect it, you make it known that we're all thinking that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you think you got away with it, and then no. No, but I loved it, Paul. I was lucky. I played 19 years pro.
Yeah.
And I loved it through the ups and the downs, and there's a lot of downs as well. Even for the very best, there's still downtime. I'd say down moments.
Yeah.
But what a career, you know. That's not my career, but being a professional footballer.
It's I
think a dream for any
everybody envies the guys who get to do that. Yeah. So let's have a look at the managers' press conferences. They've all been chatting today. We're going to kick off with Arne Slot. They take on Wolves on Saturday. That's a 3:00 kickoff. And on the face of it, Liverpool-Wolves is a bit of a no contest. But Arne Slot's not having... Well, it is, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
I mean, the way things are going...
You couldn't get a better game, that's for sure.
That's true. But he says, there's Arne, there is no room for complacency.
Yeah, every game in the Premier League is a dangerous game or a difficult game. But I see the same as what you were just saying, that the results throughout the whole season hasn't been what they were hoping for, but they come closer and closer to results. So especially Arsenal away, of course. As always, there's a challenge in every Premier League game, and that's the same for this one.
I laugh, Paul.
What's it? When managers say there's no easy games.
You know, other sports, you'll get people who say they're going to win, and, you know, whether it's a boxing match, you even sometimes in the cricket, you're going to take it to the England, they're going to take it to the Aussies, and we're going to... but in football, every coach will say the same lines about, you know, bring up a game of, Wolves, you know, they were really good at Arsenal, and... Instead of look, they've been shocking all season. If we didn't beat them 5-0, I'd be gutted because they're absolute. No one would ever dare say that. I'm going to play the kids.
That's right. I'm going to bring some of the legends in for this.
It does make me laugh sometimes
because it can come back and bite you on.
No, of course and
that would have frustrated Rob Edwards, wouldn't it? Because they did take Arsenal all the way. It was very nervy Arsenal, but they did put in a shift. They got back into the game. And then you're thinking, Brentford at home, let's build on that. Brentford can't buy a win away from home. And they managed to get beat 2-0. That felt, I don't know if the Wolves fans were really upset, you could tell at the end. But that felt like the end game a bit. You don't want to give up on a team, and you're always willing to give them the benefit of the doubt, but that felt pretty seismic, that defeat, didn't it?
I would have loved to have been a fly in the dressing room at Wolves with Rob Edwards having his team talk after the Brentford one. And what he was going to say, because it's quite clear. The effort and desire that was all there at the Emirates because it was Arsenal and they're top of the league.
Yeah.
And then you just don't see it in that game.
I know.
Strand Larsen has been horrific this season.
Yeah, I know.
He's had his head turned in the summer and he's been so disappointing. And his performance against Brentford, he didn't do anything right.
No.
You know, I mean, look, again, we've all had bad times and bad games.
Yeah.
But it looked like a performance of, I'm going to be on my way anyway, so if you go down, I won't be going down.
The pen was terrible.
Terrible. And like the whole, you know, what can you do? And I'm sure again, you can't prove it. I'm sure Matt Doherty was alluding to Larsen.
Yeah, we don't know.
No, we don't know. Yeah. But, you know, the way he spoke, it felt like he was pointing a finger at somebody.
Yeah. Well, let's hear from Nuno Espirito Santo. As we were telling you earlier on, that pretty damning stat that the 5-point gap between bottom three and the rest of the Premier League, the biggest ever at Christmas, apparently, statistically. So Nuno knows he's up against it. And they had some fan-led protests. We spoke to the fan advisory board earlier on, who've put an open letter out. So always not well at West Ham. But this is what Nuno said about those protests.
We try to isolate. Since we arrived, this is an ongoing issue, isn't it? And I always believe that us as a team, we have to try and shield ourselves and just try to give something to our fans because they're all going to give us back. I really believe, and the proof is that every time that we competed, well, our fans were there.
Fulham at home, which, you know, is a winnable game. You said that was a big result for Fulham last night, but these are the sort of games, if they are going to get out of trouble, home against Fulham, they've got to be winning, haven't they?
Yeah, the next four, you read them out earlier, they've got 4 games that they're going to need a good amount of points. If they come out with sort of a draw and 3 defeats, West Ham are going to be seriously adrift. We talked about being adrift with, they ain't a 5 points behind, but they're not seriously adrift. But they will be if the next 4 games go badly wrong, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely.
They will be.
Yeah.
And it's a big game for them, Fulham. It's a derby. Okay, it's not one of the major derbies of London, but it's a derby game and it's against a team that are above them, but not a country mile away. You're looking for your absolute leaders. This West Ham team have got to win over their fans on the football pitch.
Yeah.
You know, fans can get lifted by teams and vice versa. Fans can lift teams at times.
Yeah.
I think the onus is totally on the team to lift the fans for some sort of atmosphere and some sort of performance because it's so needed. going into this Christmas period.
No. This is a good one. This a win here could really kind of kickstart a little run for them, but we've not seen many signs, have we? Brighton, they go to the Emirates 3:00 on Saturday, and Fabian Hürzeler has been chatting to the media, and he was asked if his players can expect any time off at Christmas.
Definitely, I try to give them more time off because it's family time, and I think family is the most important in life. There are some things that are more important than football, and I'm sure that some of my players don't see their family that often, so they have the chance to see them now. They have the chance to get mentally recovered, to see their loved ones, to have nice chats, to have maybe nice surprises.
Pep said he was going to get his players in on
Christmas Day?
Yeah, Christmas Day. I think they were back in. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what was that like training on Christmas? I having to leave the family. You had, young kids and stuff at the time, and then you having to say goodbye, open the presents in them. Well, you've probably been up since 4:30. The kids have been up early, and then you've got to get off and a bit of light training, get on a coach or something, stay in a hotel.
Yeah, you do very little on Christmas Day. If you do go in, you're literally in to have a warm-up, a few stretches, you're an hour and you're back home.
Right.
And then most of my time in England was always you'd go back home to have Christmas dinner, and you'd probably go into a hotel if you were playing for the wealthier clubs. So, you wouldn't be doing that at League One, League Two level years ago because they couldn't afford to put players into hotels on night of and be ready for the next day normally. But I'm not so sure Ursula's saying there that, it's family time, it's more important. If you get beat 4-0, you might be saying we're staying in a hotel the night.
Well, we got plenty more managers to hear from, including Andoni Iraola and Sean Dyche after that defeat last night. And Sean's been doing his Brian Clough impression again, so we can bring that to you very shortly. So we're looking at some of the managerial press conferences today, say 12 in all, and that's coming up in a few moments' time. We're here with our very good friends at Toolstation. Pick up your wet weather essentials today. Next stop, Toolstation. Just before we bring you the best of the other managers' press conferences today, let's check in once again at Alexander Palace for the World Darts Championship. Paul, the Asset Nicholson, is there for talkSPORT. Paul.
Indeed, for what an afternoon we're having here. We started with Ryan Meikle, who was 2-0 down. He ended up beating Johnny Tata of New Zealand by 3-2 to make it to the last 32 for the very first time. Then we had an incredible game with Callan Raids and Daryl Gurney. They shared the first 4 sets and then ended up going to a tiebreaker in the final set. There was a point where Daryl Gurney was on 16 points to win the match, but Callan took out 100 with 2 double tops, and then he missed the bull for a third 1-6-7 to win the match. He'd end up converting the 25 to win by 3-2. On the stage right now and live on talkSPORT 2, you have Jermaine Watamina, who was 2-0 up and has just been pegged back to 2 sets all with Scott Williams. It continues now on talkSPORT 2 with an afternoon that is filled with drama.
PDC World Darts Championship update on talkSPORT with Village Hotels. Hit the bullseye this New Year's Eve. Party at one of our New Year's Eve events. 34 locations across the UK. Find out more at villagehotels.com.
It's Paul Hawksbee, Tony Cascarino. Coming up very shortly, Adi Oladipo and Gabby Agbonlahor with Drive, and then our live football from the Emirates, Arsenal Palace. We'll continue hearing from the managers who have been chatting to the press today. Earlier on today, and you were hearing it in Amelia's bulletins, that Arne Slot said he was unhappy with the tackle that Mickey van der Ven made on Alexander Isak that we now discovered broke his leg. Thomas Frank has responded to that in the past hour or so.
Unfortunately, Isaac's planted his foot straight there, and that makes it look worse than it is. I think that would be a natural reaction for any defender. I'll put it this way, if my defenders don't do that, then I don't think they are true defenders. So I don't see that at all. And I think Ragland's challenges, normally you haven't seen, I think, anyone from Mickey, as I remember it. So I see him as a very fair and competitive player.
It was kind of what you said earlier on, wasn't it? There's an expectation the defender does try and stop that from going in, and it was unfortunate. I personally didn't think it was malicious, definitely not. No intent there.
No, I couldn't point the finger at Van der Ven. I just think it's one of them. You would be furious if you're his colleague on the pitch if you don't make that challenge, and your manager, and probably every supporter in the stadium.
Exactly.
You're making trying to make a player get a blocking on him before he shoots.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Look, like you said, Paul, any other part of the pitch, it could have been a foul.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets a little bit... You can understand from both parties, but I wouldn't point the finger at
Arne Slot is obviously frustrated. I can understand that too. But we talked about Rob Edwards and Wolves, and he was chatting, still winless since he joined the club. And he has actually talked about the difficulties he's faced since joining Wolves from Borough.
No, I knew it was going to be really difficult, really challenging. Obviously, the results haven't turned, and that's really tough and that's frustrating. But we are working extremely hard. We're seeing levels improving in training. We are seeing things that we want to see on a more regular basis, a bit more consistency. We've had a lot of quite tight games, but then moments have affected us, and we've come off the wrong end of the results.
Let's hear from a happier manager, Daniel Farker, the Leeds manager. I mean, I don't know. Everybody says he sort of happened upon this two up top cast. That it was it sort of happened by accident, didn't it? Them and sort of Calvert-Lewin and Okafor have got this sort of partnership.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a tweak. He would argue, I'm sure, it was a tweak of his tactics, and he's hit upon something. That's happened to managers before. You hit upon something that works that maybe you didn't think would.
Well, I think it started at Man City, Paul, where they were losing the game comfortably. And at half-time, he's just gone, we're making a change and we're going to be brave and bold and try and hurt City. And they did. And they scored a couple of goals.
Yeah.
And he stayed with it. Fair play to him for that. And Leeds, since then, have scored a lot of goals, been a handful to play against. And, that's credit to Daniel Farko. He could have quite easily gone back to his old routine way, but they've had some big results of late.
Well, he's been talking today about the increased competition in the Premier League this season.
last seasons I was involved, we needed record points to win the league. We needed record points to be there with automatic promotion. Also 90 points were sometimes not enough once we won the championship. So for that, I expect also it will be a difficult season to stay up. So if we want to stay up, then I think we need many points. And for that, yes, I think it's a fair amount to speak about, that we have this 1 point per game and we're on a good path.
I mean, look, they are giving themselves a chance. They're on 19 points now.
Yeah.
So they've still got some ground to make up. But another win, it sort of takes you into that mix where you're anything from 9th to 15th.
Yeah. Well, they always look. You always looked at Ellen Road as a place where you could go. You felt like they had 12 men with the crowd. If you can get them going, get them excited, and they drive the team, then Leeds are going to get points at home. And I think Daniel Farke, from a manager that looked like in a really precarious position a number of weeks ago, has somehow turned it around. And it all started at City in a defeat that changed his idea and the approach of how they're going to play.
Where should we go next? Maybe a bit of levity. This is Sean Dyche. It's not the first time he's done it. As he was at the club, wasn't he?
Yes.
Briefly under...
a very short time, though.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
Brian Clough. He never really got a look in, did he?
No.
I think it was that sort of era. So he I don't know in what circumstances, but apparently he did bring out his Brian Clough impersonation once again.
Get the bands on the knee, have a lager if you wish to, but be prepared.
That's what I was after.
That's what he'd say. I know you were. You set me up nicely, and I struck the ball off the tee nicely.
That's not bad. That's not bad. It was a touch. There's no Mike Yarwood. No. It's a touch exaggeration. Did you ever meet Cloughie? Did you ever come across him? You must have played against his teams, didn't you?
Yeah. I've never really spoke to him. Obviously, Teddy Sheringham went there, and he told me.
He called him Edward all the time.
We called him Edward, but he also said he did one thing. He said Teddy was in the sauna, and he came in and started talking to Teddy in the sauna, and he said he was sweating really, And then Ted said he had his suit on. He had his suit on in the sauna.
Wow.
But was but just staring at Ted talking as like to see if he was going to react. Ted said it was really, really odd. And John Sheridan also told one when he was at, because he only lasted, one game, didn't he? From Sheffield Wednesday to Forest. First day of pre-season training, Paul. Cloughie's come in the middle and they're in a big park and said, right, nearest tree and back. And they all looked round. There's no trees. He went, find one. He said they all run off in different directions.
Oh, that's excellent. Brett the cabbie got in touch. He said, enjoyed hearing from Cass today. Ask him to tell his tea shop story. It is clean. We probably haven't got time, Cass. We've run out of time. Maybe you can save that for... You'll be back... You back on this weekend?
I hope so, unless I get sacked for what I said today, Paul.
No, I think you're all right.
Okay, yeah. Saturday and Sunday, looking forward to it. And with Shabam.
Thanks ever so much for joining us at very late notice, Cass.
Yeah, cheers, Paul.
Really enjoyed it. Have a lovely Christmas.
And you, mate.
I'll be back tomorrow with Andy, and we're going to have our little Christmas Eve party with some of the listeners coming in. We'll have those old classic clips, bit of karaoke for you. You'll know most of them, but we only dust them off once a year. So, thanks for your company this afternoon. Live football tonight, don't forget, from 7, Arsenal versus Palace, Carabao Cup quarter-final. And building up to that, it is Adeola Depot and Gabby Agbon on the Hallwood Drive.